Hello, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are very excited for our first Software Engineering Tech Summit. My name is Isadora. I am the program manager at the European Leadership University, and I'll be hosting the summit today. The summit is co organized by Offerzen and the European Leadership University. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about both. Offerzen is a developer job marketplace that helps developers find a new job and ultimately make their next career move their best one yet. And ELU is a university offering flexible undergraduate and master's degree programs in tech. We are competency based and focused on portfolio building and mentoring by experts from the field to train our students to be job ready. So you can check the website to learn more about the programs and what we have to offer. So in the summit, we will be talking about all different career pathways in software engineering and how to get started in tech. We have many experts joining us today to share their wisdom and insights. So for sure, everyone's going to learn a lot. We're excited to have 500 plus registrants and from 20 plus countries. And we would like to make this summit interactive. So please tell us where you're joining from the comments section and share your location, your country, and whatever you want to share. And also, you can also ask questions to the speakers by using the comment sections, and we'll try to help it to answer them live at the end of every session. So there are going to be 5 minute breaks in our program between each speaker, and but you can also take a break anytime you want and join us again later. So to start, let's get ahead and introduce our first guest and the first session, which is a question and answer session with two software engineering bachelor students at the European Leadership University. It's Marcel and Pedro. So, hi, Marcel. Hi, Pedro. Thank you for
Hi,
joining us today
Hi there.
and being
hi
here.
there.
Hi. So I'll start some question. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Maybe Marcel can start.
Yes. Then My name is Marcel. I'm from Brazil. I started to work in IT field in 1990. It is 24 years that I work as developer. And then this is the in 1990 is the year when I finished my technical high school, and I studied system analysis. I started developing application for the desktop. In 2001, I moved for web development. And then I worked also 4 years with iOS using Objective-C. And then I moved to Europe, and here in Europe, I started to develop in C++. And then I have a lot of experience. Also, I'm married, and I have a son, 12 years old.
Pedro.
Hey guys. I come from a completely different background than Marcel. I'm a 40-year-old guy, so I've been around for quite a while. I graduated in music, as you guys can see in my studio. That's what I do every day. But I was always interested in tinkering with computers and programming, and I've done that in my university with more of like with languages. They are more oriented to music, which you guys probably never heard of, because they're very niche. But I always been very interested, and then I don't know, that kind of like technical curiosity that I have on how computers work and how to program kind of grew in, and then I decided to do a bachelor.
Nice. So, and why did you decide to become a software engineer, Marcel?
Yes, this is an interesting question because I already work in the field for 24 years. Uh, and then even working for this for a lot, I always had some knowledge gaps related with low-level languages like assembly, C++, C language, memory management. Uh, and then to fill these gaps and acquire one certificate also that supports all my experience, then I decided to to do this university. Degree is in English is also another experience for me. and then I find the European ELU on the internet, and I loved the proposal. And this is my first international experience studying abroad, and for me it's very interesting.
Nice. Thank you. And Pedro, you told us a little bit about why you decided, but maybe you have more.
Yeah, I mean, like I think I decided to study because I'm in a completely different field, and I don't. I mean, like I'm in a creative field. I know a lot of creatives, musicians, and artists, and I'm an artist myself. But I thought that would be a good opportunity for me to meet, people who are seeking for a technical degree. Like I surround myself with people who have an interest in software engineering. So I thought, just going to study, I would meet people like that, and I have. And also just to guide me a little bit, I've been self-teaching myself for a long time, so it would be good to have a curriculum to follow, so I'm not aimlessly just going around and trying to learn different stuff. I
Yeah,
mean,
that makes sense. So, are you currently working as a software engineer now, Pedro?
no,
Mhm.
I'm not. I actually have my own company. We have like 40 people, 50 people worldwide. So I kind of lead this company. We make music for advertising. I do use a lot of the programming skills that I know to build things, build stuff for clients, and to prototype, because we do a lot of like installation work as well. When you go to a place and you make like sort of you put speakers around and there's some other
Mhm.
visual experience. So I use some of that there, and I'll also build a lot of like internal tools and things like that. So, but I'm
That's
not
nice.
working exactly as a
Is
software
it-
developer.
Marcel, you are working as a software engineer, right? So, what does your like day look like? Like, what is a typical work week or work day as a software engineer?
Okay. Well, as a software engineer, we need to maintain. Sometimes we need to maintain old applications. Sometimes we need to create new applications. Then this is what we do. But for that, we need to create new architectures. We need to think about how the networks need to, what kind of equipment you have. Uh, then we need to ask people what they need, the new needs. Sometimes we do things in old procedures, and now we need to evolve these procedures for new things. And for that, we need to create new software. And then this is what we do. We need to maintain sometimes, but sometimes also we need to create new things. Particularly, I prefer to create new things. We call this green projects. Then I prefer to work in green projects. Start it from the beginning, then ask people what they need, and then deliver it. This is what I like to do.
Nice.
Everybody.
Yeah.
I guess so. It's better to start the project. So you are both studying software engineering, and what made you decide to study at ELU software engineering?
Who's first?
Yeah, whoever wants to go first.
Marcel?
Okay. Well, when I started to search for one university, I have found some, one, two, or three, and then I started to read about, and then I see that some universities they were following the old way of studying. And what I think I see different in the ELU, here we have a new approach of studying. Then the portfolio approach is interesting. Then flexibility, online studying, and of course I was also looking for studying English and get a certificate in Europe. Then this also is good for me. But I think this is the main things that I was looking for.
Yeah, to me was definitely flexibility because I already have a career and I have a team to manage. It'll be practically impossible for me to go to like a traditional university and sit there with a bunch of 20-year-olds who have to go and watch classes. And I think maybe this is for Marcel too, because we have some experience in life. Where I think I feel a bit confident that I could kind of self guide me, through the process, because learning anything technical, it's never easy. It's very frustrating and it takes time and there's a lot of information. But if you can guide yourself and you can be consistent with your studies, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I think you need to have discipline for sure. So tell us like what has been your experience so far in the program, like some things that you have learned that you didn't know before.
I think
Um,
that.
oh,
Oh,
sorry, go first.
okay. I think the experience is very, very interesting. Interesting. For me, it's amazing. I was not expecting the experience that I have. To be honest, we can learn really good concepts. We can really work as portfolio building, and we can hands-on on it, on the project, starting it, reading the requirements, and then, of course, with support of teachers, we can then, and also self-learning, we can then start to develop our projects as the same time that we learn things. And we have a good tool that support us to do that. Then we have a tool that gives us the requirements, gives us the collaborative software code collaborative tool like Git, and people that code review our code, and sometimes they tell us you should improve here. Then we go there and we improve until we have achieved the requirements. Then it's really interesting. But as Pedro told us, we really need to do this patience, to be resilient with things and self-learning.
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, the thing that I liked the most was that the program takes you into low level programming with C and then C++, because I mean, like, I like this foundation. I think that maybe some programs out there, especially like in boot camps, they're gonna be very focused maybe in getting you a job, and then they're gonna teach you web development, and then just gonna learn some framework. So you're like on the top of the stack. I mean, you're so far from how a computer actually works that, like, whenever there is a problem, it's going to be hard for you to debug that problem, because you don't even know what's the underlying. So I really enjoy that one. I like low level programming, but I think it's really important as a foundation, and I think it's a good choice. So
Yes, I agree. I agree with Pedro. It was also what I was looking for, to really fill some gaps, and this I'm learning here. Low-level concepts, algorithms, C language, assembly, memory management, and in a good way. Really interesting.
Good, good. And so you're both working, like you said, and how are you able to combine the studies with your work? Do you think it's hard or like the
it's not
amount of
easy.
work you have and study?
It's totally flexible. Then this is amazing. We can study in the time that we want, how many hours you want. This is what really matters for me. Who I work, I have family. I also have a startup. Then uh, I started to create my culture to study online. Before, when I started to do courses in Udemy or Coursera or Plural site, then today I see to study online is really a powerful tool. Even for the IT field is perfect. When I see how this powerful tool works, then we really can get the best from them. Then, of course, we need to have some qualities to do to study online, and but or we need to learn these qualities like patience, resilience, and learn how to study alone sometimes. But yes, I love to study online today.
it's not easy, right? I mean, like, especially if you're working and learning at the same time. I mean, with me specifically, that I have like a different day at work than I would do at studying. Maybe it's a good thing, right? Because then I can have like do different things, but also, it kind of takes your focus all over the place because you're doing two different activities. But I think that, I mean, to me, that would be the only way that I could actually pursue something like that, to have a very flexible way to work and study. Otherwise, I mean, it just wouldn't be possible. I mean, it's not easy, right? But it's possible, and that's all we
Yeah.
need, I guess.
I think it's not easy to study and work at the same time independently, but I think online makes it better. And of course, you're more flexible. So, how do you think your studies are going to help you in your future, like with your career, the careers that you have now, or if you want to change careers also?
Yes, for me, it's my new knowledge is already started to help me because since I came to Europe, I started to work with C++, with more low-level languages and doing different things that when you are working in higher level language, sometimes you don't need some low-level knowledge. Then uh, since I came to Europe, I started to work in these new things, and I started already to use my new knowledge. At the same time, I'm studying them. Then, for me, it's really perfect. Of course, software engineering experience is not just about develop things. It's a little more complex. It's like to lead or like to create the entire architecture or entire experiences or put everything to work together, other people to work. And there is a lot of things here that we are learning. But yes, it's fantastic. It's amazing.
Cool. Yeah, to me, it's a different perspective than Marcel, just because I do always done something different. I have a creative mind. I make music for a living, and I have ideas and things like that. So I always had the mindset, and I think that studying software engineering completely changed how I approach everything. It's so funny because, I mean, there's always that joke between the architect and the engineer, right? The architect wants the world and has these creative, crazy ideas, and the engineer is really focused in the requirements. And I think in the beginning, to me, was very difficult and humbling too, because I, you know, I, I, I didn't understand how to approach requirements and talk with other engineers and understand what is important. But like slowly, little by little, like this experience has been teaching me to become to see the other side of the coin, the side of the performance, the building things, as opposed to like the dreamy and aspirational side of the creative. So it's been like really, really a learning experience to me.
And that's good. I'm glad you guys are also having like very different experiences. It's nice to like learn a little bit about that. So, for like my last question is, what advice would you give to other aspiring engineers that are maybe in your path or a different path?
Yes. But, well, um, in the IT field, you have a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunities. Then, and it's really a interesting profession. Then if you like to stay on computers, to work with computers, then I really advise you to get this career because it's very interesting. For that, of course, you need to be resilient, to have patience, because if you don't have these two qualities, maybe you, like Pedro told, you are going to be frustrated. Then have patience, learning. Sometimes in the beginning is not so easy, but as soon as each day that you acquire a new knowledge, things start to become more easier for you. Then when you have a bunch of knowledge, then you really will it will going to start to be really easier for you. Then don't give up in the first. Then this is my advice.
Yes, my advice is if you want to understand how something works, just build one of it, because that's the only way you'll ever understand anything. You can read books, you can watch videos, but if you really want to understand how something works, just like build from the ground up, and you're going to understand every single part of it. And that's basically the best way to learn. And that would be like sort of my advice, so you're not kind of wasting too much of your time just watching videos and trying to learn some other way.
Yeah, like learn by doing, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay, that was the last question. I'm going to open up questions also from the guests. One person has a question is what are the important programming languages that should be known? From Gurnish from India.
I have some favorite ones, but I'll let
Okay.
Marcel start.
Okay, for for learning purpose or for go directly for the markets and find good jobs, then I don't know. But okay, we can learn with even really we can learn with all the languages. No problem. No, does not matter. But today, that is, if you go in the Google, you can rank the best languages, and maybe depends on you if you want to go for the language that pay more or other kind of languages. There is also technical challenges that you want. It depends. But for example, today we have in the top rank we have Java, we have Golang, we have these languages. We have C++ also in the top, C Sharp. If you want to develop for games, you can decide develop for C++ or for C Sharp. Or they are good. Also, Python is a good language. It's easier language to learn. It really depends from you. Uh, uh, it's difficult to say that. Today, I think my next language I should learn is Golang. I think for me, from my knowledge. But yes.
To me, I think you gotta C is one language that you have to learn, just because you need to understand how the computer works. But I would kind of pick languages that do different things. So you can have like an interpreted language, Ruby or Python or Node, whatever. Just pick one of those. Doesn't really matter. Just pick one compile language. It can be Rust or systems language, Rust or C++ or even Golang, which is kind of like systems too. And I would take one functional language just to change your mindset. It could be like Elixir or Camel. What else? Clojure. Just don't pick Haskell because it's kind of complicated.
um, Treasure from Cape Town asked a question to Pedro. He said, "What is the good tools for to use for automation tests, especially on .NET environments?"
Never use any Microsoft things. So I know not a lot about C Sharp or the .NET kind of world. Do you know anything about them, Marcel? I'm an Apple guy, so
.NET also for me is not
Not
a
okay.
good.
sorry
I
about
miss.
that.
And then for the last question is what is the difference between software engineering and software development?
Marcel?
Okay, I think they are not so much different, but software development really you need to develop to work in the process of development and code things. A software, I should say, a software engineer, you can participate in all the development process and also in the deployment process. Then you start from the beginning when you are talking with people, understanding the requirements, understanding what we need to do, then document these kind of things, and after you put that for development. And then a software engineer should be also able to understand how to put this in deployment, and how to create a, we call it CI/CD today, a continuous integration, continuous deployment, how to put this all entire process to work. Then, because we need to continuous deployment things, is something that you need to understand how to do, because today we don't work in 1 year for then deployment an entire version of Windows, for example. We deploy things by in little pieces of code. And we do something that goes and automatically the test is automatically done, then the security is automatically uh, done, the code is verified, and how to put all these things to work. I think then the software engineer should follow all the entire process. This is my vision. The software developer just work in the development, and then the software engineer can see something, and the abstraction is a little bit bigger.
Should I answer the next question so we're a bit faster, like about the
Uh,
back end and the full stack?
yes, yes, you can. Okay, that'll be the last question then. What is the
Okay, sorry.
difference, I think, between front end and back end and full stack?
Okay. So this is kind of more related to web development, or it could be potentially just system development too, but it's more used in the web development world. So the front end, it's whatever it's in your browser on your like Safari or Chrome. And generally that's kind of like the UI, the front end interface of your application. It's like you generally program that in JavaScript or some JavaScript framework, and the backend is like sitting on a computer in the cloud in a like in any place in the world, and that's kind of what's gonna handle your business logic, and it's gonna talk with your database, and that generally you can be more flexible with what language you want to use. So you could, I don't know, use Python, like somebody mentioned Python. You can use Django Python, or you can use Ruby on Rails. So that's kind of the difference. One is just building your UI and the front end of the application. The other one is just handling the data and the business logic. And full stack is both of them, obviously, together.
Okay, then I think that's the end of our talk and our session. Thank you so much for your answers, and it was a pleasure hearing from you and coming to participate. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
So our second speaker today is Kim Del Coco. She's a global technical recruitment manager at Krilla Consultancy. Krilla Consultancy is an experienced recruitment company based in Switzerland, and they are present all around Europe. So welcome.
Hello, Isadora.
Hi.
It's very nice to being here today. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. So, that I should start with my presentation, I believe. Yeah, here we are. That is everyone seeing it? Perfect. So, here, welcome today to Job Prospects of Software Engineers, and thank you for joining us. Starting with me, who am I? I'm a patient recruiter with 18 years of experience, but especially dedicated to software engineers. In fact, in my journey, I work in corporate side as a recruiter, but mainly in the last 12 years, I can say I really focused on the IT part because it is my playground. I can say when I'm saying it's a passion for me. I really enjoyed after I meet with recruitment of software engineers, that it always gives me another pleasure, because it's an area that developing every day. So I cannot stay as I am today, and I have to also improve myself with them. So this gives me another another pleasure. And also, I proudly want to mention that I have the privilege to be a career coach, the first alumni of ELU. And so, if you are looking for a career in software engineering, I can say you will be in good hands. So today that we will discuss about software engineering job prospects together. That what? Sorry, is it? Okay. What you should be expecting as a job from job prospects in software engineering. This question is not easy to answer in fact in 10 minutes because it is very, very related with you. So today I would love to discuss with you this. For this, there is a very important point to understand who is a software engineer and what they do actually, because many of us maybe is not aware that how they are making great. Today, the real answer is just surrounded us. In fact, imagine that you are offering your foods from out, and then you are started listening music. You are going to a cafe. You are paying all these payments, starting from all these payment systems to the transportation, to the games, and to the all the applications in your mobile phone, and of course the mobile phone itself. So every of them is coming from software engineers' hand. But the thing is, why I'm saying is, of course, that all we aware of this. These are all different areas, in fact, because software engineers are masterminds behind the technologies. Now we cannot imagine that living without. What's to be a best software engineer? Not the best in the world, maybe, but to be one of the best, you must be creative. Not only have the technical expertise, so this will come during the years for sure, and so you can carry out innovative ideas. It's very important. But what they do to have these ideas finally? They are not only sitting and coding all day, but for example, they can check for bugs in software, and which require extreme concentration, and also software developers have to collaborate with others, including fellow developers, managers, and clients. So today they are not only sitting in their chair for sure. And developers are often natural problem solvers, which is very, very important skill in a software engineer. So their basics come from solving problems. In fact, mathematic problems it start, but then it will become to do sometimes business problems, because now business is means digital. So if they solve the problem, so they solve the business finally today. And if you are an aspiring software engineer, you can expect regular opportunities to progress your career also. As you learn technical skills and gain experience, new doors will open for sure. You will have the chance to continue working with code or to use understanding of software development lifecycle, also to lead the teams. Here is very important part for me, what I say software development lifecycle. Because when I am coaching in many new graduate or many professionals who would love to change their career path to the IT or software development, the first thing I want them to understand the software development lifecycle. Because software development lifecycle is not just start and just end with coding. It involves many other steps, also before, during, and after. So to understand it very well, we'll let you know that to understand your place in from the perspective of job prospects, where you can stand. Because when we say software engineer today, there is really so many opportunity will be open in front of you, but you must be decided about that, and you must started to improve yourself in that area. I know many of them is asking this question, so where would I feel fit well? There are some examples I can give you for sure. You can be a software developer, you can be a data engineer, you can be a DevOps engineer, you can be software quality assurance engineer and or testing engineer, software testing engineer. You can be cloud engineer, you can be system engineer, you can be blockchain engineer. So today the examples are so many. My intention today not to confuse you with the possibilities, but to let you know where you can place yourself. Because also here I will stand for a while that, for example, when you are talking about developments, you need to decide to a language that you would love to specialize. It is important, because then it will be affect your applications for sure. But this does not mean that you choose a language which is around today. I believe the used ones are 150, but the popular ones, of course, around 20. It does not mean that you choose PHP, you will stuck with that. You choose sharp, you stuck with that. No, today a good developer must be open to improve their self all the time. You must choose your language or languages that you would love to go on the being expertise, because it is also a matter of taste. During my recruitment years, and still, of course, I'm coming across with many developers that who are really love what they are doing, and sometimes I come across with developers that they are regret that they didn't choose a different path a couple of years ago, because this path is not mustn't be started. Not is not it mustn't be started that what they give you, because what they teach you at school, what they want you to work in your first job, it must be also not, it mustn't be limited what they give you, but you must be also very open to step up with the new technologies. You must be always open eyes, what is new, what is going on. And I always say you must coding also for pleasure for yourself, so you will not feel anytime as you stuck with that technology. If you choose one or two, and only during the years, 10 years, 15 years, you just go with that, yes, technologies are getting old also, and the new technologies come up. Sometimes they are not very related with each other, because here there's many also question if you would love to enjoy with a object-oriented language or subject-oriented language, or today we are talking functional languages. These all has a different taste. Also, one is sometimes different than others, and your joy can change. So, in this point, that which I would love to hear, that finishing my presentation and coming back to me, and here, what I would love to suggest. Really go with the new technologies and know yourself, try them, because if you are beginning of your journey in software development, be aware this is this is not a sea, this is an ocean, and this is endless. Discover as much as you can, and also discover your taste, and discover what you would love to do, because these technologies will become a part of you, and you will be living with them finally, and you will be earning with them for sure. As much as you love it, as much as you will be great on this, that what I discovered during the years, the best developers are the ones who are making their job with passion, and it is very important. It is very inspiring also for the others. So find these people, follow on LinkedIn, on YouTube, watch the videos, and try to make small projects with these languages, or try to understand the other aspects of the software development lifecycle. When you understand it perfectly, and when you feel it, that it is really great on you and you enjoy it, then I believe you will become a good developer or engineer. Here, I believe we can have some questions if you have for me. How much experience is one required so as to attain global recommendation for software engineering? Okay, this is a hard question, because of course answering this for all the global is not easy. But what I suggest you, if you are looking for a global job, I would consider at least 2 years of experience. 2 years of experience, because it will give you an aspect that you will be developing the applications without any help, or only help of Google. So this is a great step for me, because after this step you started to become more senior. You will started to deal with complex problems. After this stage, your also learning curve will be very fast, because you would be solving the main issues, the basic problems in coding. Also, you will be more understanding the importance of clean code. What is it? Maybe you will be go into more deep into the engineering steps. If your degree is not tech related, or if you lack a degree entirely, will be an obstacle. Software engineer, even if you are self-taught and have projects and experience. Okay, this is a great question, because I can say, if you ask me this question a couple of years ago, I would be more pessimistic about it. But today, 2022, and after the COVID changed our lives a lot, or also from the perspective of working remotely. Globally, that it's changed for sure. And so your chances are much more today with finding a job globally. It is very important that what you are doing passionately, and don't give up. Don't give up. Your resilience is very important. If you have enough projects to show, and but these must be solid projects, that and if you are ready for the interviews, for the technical questions, many companies, I can say, is not bothering the degree anymore that much. Some companies, I don't want to give name today, but I can say some of them you are knowing very well, even not asking the diploma, when you get a job offer, because they really only care the technical steps that you passed. So don't stuck on this if you have a degree or not, but really be passionate what you are doing, and just try to put all your energy that what you can do more. Because being a software engineer or being a developer, um, it's not about diploma, being a good one, that I can say. It's not only about the diploma. It's like being a pilot. So for example, I don't know if anyone has information about it, but the pilots, even if they are hard training, which takes 2 years, they cannot take the flight after 2 years experience. They have to fly with others, and then one day it's calculated how many kilometers they flight, and then they become a chef captain. uh, it's like that. In fact, it is very important in coding and in software development, how much you code, and you coded, or if you are working in other areas, how much you are into it. It is very important, the technical questions that you can answer, because if you can do better than anyone who has a diploma, then it will not be matter that you don't have it. From my side, and my experience is saying this. Well, GPA, again, in fact, it is related with the previous question for me. GPA or degree itself, it is matter in the first month, maybe first year, because a recruiter don't has anything to look beside it. But as a recruiter, if you can show me something, that a project, a passion, a full GitHub link, for example, then a GPA, I will not dig your GPA. That I promise. But it is important for me that if I can see that sign that you do something passionately about it, you really want this job, you really want to work on this. As a recruiter, I would love to see it more than a GPA or a diploma. But the moment you don't have them, if you are just trusting your diploma, if you didn't do anything, I can say in an empty CV, yes, we can check for a diploma or GPA. Do programming certifications matter, or only projects are valued when applying for entry-level software engineering? Both, I can say. Certification is one thing, is important, of course. Sometimes clients are that and customers are looking for that, but of course projects are show that you applied your knowledge. So in the first years it is a bit maybe overwhelming, but I promise you, you will get the fruits later. Try to do as much as you can. So I always say that these questions, what, it's not the answer for me, one or other. Do if you can do both. Try to take the certification, because certification is something theoretical also still, many of them. I don't want to say 100%, but try to do also projects that which will give you a lot of points in the future. Yes, it is very possible. It is very possible that today people are working from other side of the world to the other side of the world. the COVID is really crushed these boundaries. Before it, there is always there was still this kind of remote jobs, but with COVID, it's really broke the boundaries, and now many of the company is so much open to this remote working. Sometimes and it is not matter if you are residing in that country or not, uh, because today with the mobile HR companies who can make your payroll all around the world, now it become possible.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for your talk. It was great.
Thank
I think
you.
we learned a
It was
lot,
great.
and a lot of people had a lot of questions as well.
Okay.
um,
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to being here again, and wish
thank
you a
you.
pleasant presentation.
Thank you so much. Bye. Um, Okay, so next up, I'm happy to introduce Max Giustin. He's currently working as a freelancer and as a business developer in the developers team at Cargo Plots. Max will be talking about the different stages in a developer's career and their perspective in tech. So, welcome, Max. We're glad you can join us. Um, Hello, guys. Max is having some technical difficulties with his computer, so we'll have a little bit of a break and be back soon in 5 minutes. Thank you. Hello, I think Max got some technical difficulties, but I guess it's all right now. Max, you can use your phone if you'd like. Hello. Um, so Max had a technical problem, so we're gonna go and talk to Alper. He is the founder of ELU and the president. So hello. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm fine, Isadora. I'm really good. And is my voice clear?
Yes, it is. Just the
Okay.
video that it's not accompanying the voice, but it's fine.
Yes. Yeah, I'm joining you from our university in a campus in Cyprus. So I'm always the best backup speaker. So sorry that Max
Yes.
couldn't join us. He had a great presentation, but I would love to talk with you and the audience about, I think, the prospects of choosing a software engineering career, and especially tech, and why it matters today, and how far they can go with a development program, because it's a very exciting topic at the moment. And what I see is, we heard it from Marcel and Pedro, the traditional universities are not developing the technical talent that we need for today's companies, especially progressive new generation companies. So programs like ours try to build and this skills gap, and it's very exciting because it opens us a totally new world. It's a new planet almost, a new world within the planet, that in the tech domain, you can work with great teams, great companies. So I see like there's a lot of interest also from the audience. We have, around 600 people attending this summit, and I can see all around the world from, more than 45 countries, people are looking at um, building in tech. So yeah, I'm happy to share my experience with you at that moment.
Thank you so much. So, what was your goal? Like, what is your goal? Like, what do you hope to achieve with ELU?
Well, I think, especially with the software engineering program, what we're trying to achieve is, I think we want to, again, heard it from Marcel and Pedro, but I, software engineering is a very practical topic. It's very hands-on. You just make things, you build software. So an academic program, theoretical program, is not always helpful. And people who can build things, who can make things, are practical professionals. So my ambition has been, and our ambition also, to create an opportunity, a learning experience that makes it easy and favors practical learning. And our ambition is simply to make this accessible for people who wants to make a career shift or build a career in tech and software engineering, and we want to do it with as many as people possible. And on one side we have a very practical program, and on the other side we also have connections with employers, and they are looking for right talent who can really build things. And as an example, just as the final word, when in our program, after 2 years, any of our learners are able to build a software like Slack from scratch, and it's a wonderful thing. I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to do something like this.
Yeah, and it's nice that anyone like all over the world can join as well. And you don't need to be present, like you can be online.
Yeah.
Um, and how did you start your career in tech
Well,
education?
my personal career goes back 30 years. So before I was into education, I was also an engineer. My first project in my professional life was a project on fuzzy logic. That was the AI 30 years ago. So, and I've seen how exciting it is to be involved in tech and to make things work using the power of tech. And throughout years, with my learning in education, with my track record in education, with my team members, I wanted to create a platform really for young people where it's fun and it's challenging and it's also promising for them to build careers in tech and learning, you know, really sophisticated stuff uh, to give them more opportunities. For me, as a young professional and today also, autonomy, having options, having choices is a big topic. And that's what I love about tech and tech education. That gives us these choices and, choicefulness in a way. So when you study tech, you can do a number of things. You can work for great companies, work for great teams. That's wonderful. If you don't want to work for a company, which I understand, then you can work as a freelancer, and then that's also, I think that's a great opportunity. Or you can start a company, with your friends, with a team. We can build a startup. So that's the beauty about tech. You don't have to do one thing. You can do one of the many other three things at least, and maybe sometimes a combination of the two or so.
Yeah, so I guess my next question was what makes it working in tech interesting? I guess you kind of replied a little bit, but maybe you could elaborate.
Yes, I can do tell more. I think the choicefulness is number one for me. That freedom, that the having different options is a number one life value. I mean, I'm 50 something at the moment, and even if when I was like 10 something, that was a life value for me. So, um, so in that sense, this choicefulness is number one. Number two, I mean, work is a social thing. I mean, so it really makes big difference to people that you work with. So the quality, the sophistication, the intellectual capacity um, of the people that you work, I think makes a big difference. I mean, so in tech, what I see with people working in tech, they're bright people, they are curious, they are adaptable, and they are, lifelong learner. They are practical people. They are fun. So I think in a community like tech, it's really fun to work with. So for me, that's the people also. Um, Makes a big difference. And then finally, as I said, I mean, if you want to see things that you build, you made, and that makes an impact on world, on companies, on NGOs, on the society, on your community, I think tech also gives you that power, and that's a great power. So these three things fundamentally: people, choicefulness, and the power of making something, to me is are really good stuff about tech.
Yeah. And yeah, and I also think that Czech tech is changing a lot. So it's interesting because you don't know where it's headed sometimes. So I guess there's a lot of innovation and a lot of new things to
Yes,
learn all the time.
I think that's a great point. I think that's the beauty about tech people, because they are always adaptable. They are following the trends. They are constantly updating themselves. When I when I was doing my engineering work, I mean, we had completely different languages, than today, and there are always new languages coming up, new users, new frameworks. So having an open mindset, growth mindset, and adapting that is really important. But I also see something big coming up. I think that's also very important for someone aspiring to be a software engineer. I mean, we there's a technologies around distributed ledger technologies, which is in the popular sense the blockchain. I think the blockchain, what it is today, is like what internet was like, late 90s. So an internet changed us. We call it Web 2.0 at the time in 2000s, and now we're talking about Web 3, and there's a lot of um, hype about metaverse, but I'm more into the distributed ledger technologies and how it will change the world, because it will remove all the central decision making points with these peer-to-peer technologies. And software engineers, and also other engineers in tech, have a great opportunity there, because we'll be part of a probably a technology renaissance that's going to come up with the distributed ledger technologies. I mean, it's not going to be an incremental change. It will have huge impact on the businesses, society, um, the way we engage with each other. So that's also one of the things that, as you said, like tech is changing, and it's actually not. It's not only changing itself; it's changing the world around us.
Yeah, for sure. And what is the most important lesson you have learned in your career in tech and all this
I
time that you've
think,
been working?
um, well, I think probably learning, never stop, a number of things, making learning a lifestyle. That's number one, always learning. So it's not like I don't like the lifelong learning, but I think we need to make learning curiosity a part of our life. It's a life, make our lifestyle rather than a part of us. I think that's number one. Number two, also I heard it from Marcel and Pedro. I think resilience. You know, never postpone. Never give up, and keep keep working, and always remember that the difference between dream and reality is only time. So never give up dreaming.
Yeah, that's a good lesson to learn. And why did you like want to organize the summit or thought it was important?
So, I think we wanted to organize this summit to, give inspiration to young professionals aspiring to be in tech or growing in tech, and also give a broader perspective on how to develop in tech, and talk about new exciting topics. I mean, we talked about, for example, blockchain, yeah, as a trendy topic. I mean, I hear a question from Agnes, referring to blockchain. To discuss these kind of things. I mean, um, so what how things like software engineering, new technologies is going to change the world ahead of us, so we can all kind of talk about it and learn about it together. Maybe a good time to take questions, or do we are we done with the time?
No, we can ask questions. Um, if anyone has any questions,
I see one question from Agnes.
yes.
So I think um, there, about my comment about what internet was in 1990s is the equivalent of what blockchain is today. So, and what it really means and what it entails for us. So, in a very nutshell, at the moment, we have institutions and structures that work for trust. So we have to have centralized institutions that gives us trust. So in a practical sense, we cannot lend money or borrow money from each other because we don't know who each other is. So we have banks, and we have central banks, and we have even universities, like for credentials. All these central organizations, actually, they are the centers of trust. And what happens with the blockchain, actually enables, as a trust machine with all the history of the person, peer-to-peer transactions, and it's trustable because the network is the trust machine and network is a trust center. So that's going to make lots of centralized institutions either irrelevant or give them a different role than today. And that's a big change. Imagine a world, for example, it will challenge Google, it will challenge banks, it will challenge parliaments, it will challenge universities. Anybody sitting in the center is going to be impacted. So, as a software engineer, we're going to be the architects and builders of that new world. That peer-to-peer engagement is going to drive everything. So that is. I hope that I can answer that question. Maybe, um, and then, yeah. And Mohammed asks a question: how to start with blockchain? Well, first you have to be a good software engineer to start with blockchain, and after that you can go further with with your languages. But definitely, you know learning in the tracks of software engineering is definitely an important part. And don't go with the hype. I mean, don't go with bitcoins and or metaverse. These are hype. They are exciting, they are interesting, but go always with the solid knowledge, foundational knowledge, which is at the moment, as software engineering or AI, machine learning engineering, if you want to do in the artificial intelligence side.
I think we have one more question.
Yeah.
Do you think the demand for web and software developers and engineers will continue to increase in coming years or decrease eventually?
Well, in a foreseeable future, it will exponentially increase. I mean, when we started our programs, the shortage within Europe only, I'm not talking about Asia or Americas, only in Europe, there were like 300,000 shortage in terms of tech roles. Now this is above 500,000, and I think by 2025 it will be between 800 to 1 million. And um, so so that's going to increase probably. I cannot. I'm not a fortune teller, but as far as I can see, how slow it's going and how much need there is, I think that exponential increase will be there at least for um, no, at least 10 years, I would say. I'm not saying that wait for 10 years because early comers are always advantageous, but it's going to be around. So that's a exciting job to do in that case because everybody is kind of after you. You're like the king and the queen, prince and princess, because everybody wants to work with you, and you can work remotely wherever you are sometimes, and you can do work with great people. So yeah, that's gonna go on for a long time, as my understanding. And I'll tell you, I think what's happening is they always talk about will robots get our jobs? That's also another hype question. But I always tell as an answer, no, people who can work with machines, robots will take your jobs. So like people like software engineers or machine learning engineers who will who can take um, our jobs, and their jobs will be taken with people who can work with machines and people. So that's why we emphasize in our programs not only technology but also leadership knowledge, so that we can engage with machines and people masterfully in an equal way. And
Okay, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. It was great to talk to you.
thank you,
And
Isadora. Well, enjoying
thank
the summit.
you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Um, so, our next speaker today is Alvaro Caballero from Data Snipper. Alvaro is the head of people, and he will tell us what are the skills required to become a software engineer. Hi, Alvaro. Welcome.
Hi there, welcome everyone. Is the audio working all right?
Yes, perfect.
Brilliant. Then allow me to share my screen really quickly. Please let me know if you're actually able to see it. Yeah, it works. Okay, then I'll just kick it off. Hi. So we only have 15-20 minutes, so I will be very brief and effective. I hope so. My name is Avro Caballero, as I was introduced by Isadora. I'm the head of people at Data Snipper. It's been 4 months since I started this journey, and it's been quite a journey, actually. But today I want to just give it a brief introduction. Myself, an engineer, but I never really practiced as an engineer. I finished the studies, and then I moved more into the business administration side of things. I started a traineeship program for management at ING, and that's where I had more of my career growing on the enterprise side. I ended up being the head of the Tech Academy, and so I did spend a lot of time working with engineers and for engineers to make sure that they actually get the support they need to grow their career, right? So a lot of my experience comes from that. And now, of course, as head of people at Data Snipper, I'm also looking at the development of the careers, but not only engineering, but across the whole organization, right? And today, what I would love to talk to you about is, like, what are the skills that I would recommend for you to build as a software engineer. I'm not going to be telling you to study X or Y framework or X or Y as particular coding language. There's plenty of discussions around that. Today, what I want to share is something a little bit more intuitive and more long-term in terms of looking at your career. So I have 3 things to tell you today. The first one is that in order for you to figure out a little bit better what you want to do with your career, you need to start looking at your career journey already, right? Like, so as I put right there, Yogi Berra, one of the greatest philosophers of the previous generation, you got to be very careful if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there, right? And then so what is it that I mean here is that coming from an enterprise side of the career, I can really tell you many organizations will put together career ladders, right? So now that you're studying, it's a great time for you to start looking at those career ladders and try to figure out what are the skills that are going to be expected for you to be evolving as you grow your career, right? And then so you have, luckily we live in the internet time, and then there's plenty of these frameworks that are available, and they are open source or they are published. The site that I recommend you to take a look at is called progression.fyi. In there, you have plenty of those organizations who open source or who published their career ladders or their career frameworks. That is going to give you a lot of interesting information on what skills I'm going to be evaluated on, what skills I can start putting together here, right? So that's the first piece of feedback that I have for you. Start looking a little bit ahead, start looking at the plans, start understanding what careers fit you a little bit better than others. But if we look a little bit deeper at the careers, specifically these career ladders, you will see that most of them are based in the generic Dreyfus model of skill acquisition. Now, that is important for you to keep into consideration, because it also gives you a sense of direction that you need to start doing on how to trying to understand how is it that you're actually building your skills, right? Like, so how do you move from that novice to advanced beginner to competent to expert, right? So very, very focused on understanding not only the type of skills that I'm going to be evaluated on or the type of skills that are useful for my career, but also what are the things that I need to start doing that demonstrate acquisition of skill. And so if you put those 2 things together, at the beginning of your career, you have a very strong foundation to say, yeah, I kind of know more or less where I want to go, right? So this is something that I recommend often to people who are looking at what is the next step for their career. This is an example, going a little bit deeper, this is an example which is deprecated already, but it shows you a little bit, this is how you're going to be evaluated. This is the kind of conversations that you're going to have probably with your future managers. Where do you rank in terms of the skill of all the different frameworks that you have available? So this is a couple of screenshots from Dropbox, from Medium. So that actually gives you a good idea of what I mean. The second thing that I have as feedback for you, or as an idea of start building these capabilities, is writing. Okay, I know we're engineers, we love building solutions, right? But I always like to say clear thinking is clear writing is clear thinking, right? So if you aim at getting your point across, regardless of the quality of your product, if you cannot explain the benefits, if you cannot explain the trade-offs, it's going to be a difficult value proposition, and you will be rewarded for bringing that value forward, right? And if we look at today, the way of working is unlikely that a sync way of working, remote way of working are going anywhere. So the more we work async, the more we work remote, the more we rely on effective writing skills. So again, spend time on building your writing skills. It might be counterintuitive, but it pays off, right? And to give you a couple of examples, right? This is not something that I just came up with. This is looking at what other excellent engineering organizations are already doing. Like to give you an example, in 2004, there is this book written by Amazon veterans Bill Carr and Colin Breyer. And they were telling the story of how in 2004, Jeff Bezos decided that he wanted to stop with the PowerPoints. And now every major decision at Amazon's leadership is discussed in a narrative type of document, the famous 6-page demo. And it is required for everyone in the meeting to read that. But it requires someone to prepare that 6-page demo. And it really forces everyone in the decision-making funnel. It requires focus on narrative, okay? PowerPoint is good at conveying data, but the decisions require that narrative, and memos are better for that. It allows you to deliver more information density, so you can pack a lot more information in 6 pages of a memo than just a PowerPoint with pretty images. It focuses the discussion about ideas and not about charisma. You don't have to be a great presenter. You don't have to be TED Talk style of presentations. You focus on the information and the ideas packed in a really terse prose. Allows for better analysis, for better discussions, and is way easier to build that shared understanding. Because whether or not you agree with that memo, it is focused on the points that are relevant and allows for people to circle around the same discussions, okay? A couple of other examples, another excellent, going back here. There's another example, Stripe. It is a great organization in terms of engineering. They're a global organization, the Collinson brothers, and they actually have a very strong writing culture. They actually created a publishing arm of Stripe because the founders find so important that people know how to write. So they actually support the publishing, right? I like to give resources. So in this case, I recommend, if you're not following him already, Gergely Oros. He writes The Pragmatic Engineer. He has a newsletter and he has a blog, and he has plenty of resources available on Twitter. He actually makes the point as well of how important it is to actually build your writing skills. So follow him already. There's plenty of stuff that you can learn from him. He actually wrote a blog post on what are his recommendations on resources. So here it is. A couple of tools. Hemingway Editor. It makes your text easier to read. And Grammarly Pro, if you don't have it already, please try and get it. They have a free version as well. It helps you actually analyzes your text and gets it better. Even simple emails get better when you have some support for some tools. A couple of other resources in terms of books. The best one I have to recommend for you guys is William Caesar on Writing Well. It's fantastic. Then you have Benjamin Dreyer on Dreyer's English, and Will Strunk on The Element of Styles. All of these provide a lot of information on what it takes to simplify and get nice writing processes for yourself. And there's also free online resources. You don't have to buy the books. On the craft of writing effectively, technical writing courses by Google, or the Writing Well handbook by Julian Shapiro. Those things are available on the internet. You can start already today on building your writing skills. Cannot repeat this enough. Good communication is good writing. So start building those skills. And the third recommendation for you joining this summit is decision making. At the end of the day, we live and die by the decisions we make. And within an organization, most of the time they're going to ask you to be fast, but spending some time of getting the right decision-making process is super important. Again, there is a lot of information out there. One of the things that I like the most is to focus on mental models that allows you for better decision-making. So this is my recommendation for you today. The mental models that you start building, those are kind of like shortcuts that allows you to focus on the right outcomes. So start studying, start reading about those mental models, because you have all this messiness of information, and the mental models allows you to put things in perspective, put things in a structure that allows you to make decisions faster. Okay. Decision making is not one thing; it's a collection of tools, from frameworks, and again, these mental models. There are at least 3 mental models that I want to mention today that I think will be good for you to take a look at. The first one is second order thinking. So think in terms of interactions and time. So understand that interventions will have multiple effects beyond the direct ones. So if I do something, something else happens, but then sit a little bit longer and look at that chain of potential consequences. If something else happens, what else will happen? So ask yourself, and then what? Something happens, that will happen, that else will happen, and then what? And then think a little bit through time. If I do this, what are the consequences in 10 minutes, in 10 months, or in 10 years? Okay, so look at it from those perspectives. That's what I mean by second order thinking. The second way of making quick decisions with a little bit of thinking is regret minimizations. Try and look for things that maximize your long-term happiness, that prioritize projects that you would regret not being part of. So think a little bit at the middle age and look back and say, hey, I regret not doing that. Those are the things you should prioritize. So regret minimization, very good framework for prioritizing decision-making. And the third one is something that you might be using already, is inversion. Thinking something through the reverse or thinking something backwards, right? So it's a problem-solving technique. So instead of, for instance, only thinking, you have a team and then you say, what are the best way to foster a great team? Try sometimes to look at the other way around and say, what are the things that I need to avoid so this is not a bad team? And you have to make those two perspectives together, one with the other, but then inversion actually helps you get faster on the analysis of the problem. Again, I like to give recommendations. Resources for mental model. Look, Scott H. Young has a fantastic blog. James Clear, he has a fantastic book, but also he wrote about decision-making models. Julian Shapiro, I recommended before, also great resources about decision-making and mental models. And my absolute favorites are Anne-Laure Lecomte from Neslav. If you can afford it, I think it's like 50 euros per year. Join her community. She has a lot of information and she has a community of people who are really into mental models, among many other things. And then the absolute best for me is Shane Parrish. He has Farnham Street, a blog and a podcast that I recommend absolutely for you to take a look at. And he actually has a paid course solely focused on decision making. I already took the course and I got so much out of it because it really embeds ways of thinking at a problem from different perspectives and going faster, knowing that there's quality on your thinking. So there you have it. I know I went a little bit fast, but those are my recommendations. Doing a bit of a recap, have a bit of a map where you want to go. And for that, you need career ladders and you need to understand the Dreyfus models. The second one, invest a lot of time, not only on your technical skills, but also on your writing skills, and try and bring a toolbox of mental models to support faster and high quality decision making. Those are my recommendations for those of you looking for engineering. If you build these things, they will pay off big time. I think this is it from me. Just checking if there are any questions that I might be able to answer. I'm just looking at the chat. But don't seem to have any questions.
I was on mute, sorry. I have a question actually.
Yes.
For the writing skills, you mentioned that it's important to have writing skills. So do you think that a person should better their writing skills in English? Or
yeah, it's very contextual. If you look from a global workforce, of course, English is the lingua franca of the business, right? So I always recommend improve a little bit your dictions, but that's where tools like Grammarly or the Hemingway, they actually help you, because you don't have to be the best. You don't have to have impeccable grammar. You're able to communicate effectively. And then you have these tools to actually get you to the next level, right? That being said, if you want to build your writing skills in your native language, because that is the context of how you work, absolutely. I think the important thing to recognize here is that writing becomes a lot more important. And I keep saying counterintuitively, because at school, writing lessons were about essays, were about massive reports, were about 20 pages of read this book and write a report on that. Fine that we do that when we're learning at school, but writing in the business context, in the company's context, it boils down to things as simple as, how do I write a proper email that gets people to spring into action effectively? How do I explain my idea very quickly, and it has to be just one paragraph? So it's micro writing in a sense that the most effective ones are the ones that are clearly written. And like I said, that's the importance of writing. Is it comes across in chats, in Slack, in emails, in your quarterly reports. It's a lot of writing there, and we don't really see the importance, but it has a massive effect. As a manager, as a coach, I had conversations with engineers, and those who are able to articulate effectively their thinking through writing, they get more attention to their ideas, and that's just because they're more effective in communication.
Yes, I agree. And also, I think communicating, not just writing, but verbally, is also important.
Yeah, absolutely. Verbal communication will remain the case, but
Yeah.
especially working in an office, verbal was kind of like a given. We never really paid
Yeah.
attention, and then so the transition towards async or remote made writing one of those things. That's what I'm telling you. If you look at the trend,
Yeah.
that's not going back. So better brush up on the writing.
That's true. Someone said, great presentation. Thank you. Can you share the first website about career prospects again, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's progressions.fyi. It's here on the screen. And yeah, progression.fyi.
Okay, perfect. I think that's it. If you could send me the link, maybe I can share the links that you have on your presentation. I can share it with everyone because I think it's going to be good resources to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
sure.
So that was my desire in this presentation, to actually give you the recommendation of the resources. There's a lot to do and to unpack, so I'll be happy to give you all that collection.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, then. Thank you for your talk and coming and speaking to everyone. It was a pleasure having you here, and it's always, you have very great content, so it was great. I think I learned a lot as well.
Absolutely. I hope it was helpful, and thanks for the invitation, Isadora.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye. So now I am delighted to introduce our next speakers, which is Victor Lucas. He's a faculty member at the European Leadership University, and he also works as a software engineer. And Melike Aydin, she's the co-founder and the chief learning officer at Upschool. Upschool is an ed tech startup that boosts up women up to become role models in technology. I think she can talk a little bit better about that. But they will be speaking about a program that ELU and Upschool have developed together. So welcome, both of you. Thank you for coming.
Hi, Isadora.
Thanks, Isadora.
Thanks for inviting us. So I will kick off, and I will let you introduce yourself, Victor. So as Isadora mentioned, I'm the co-founder of Upschool, which is an edtech startup. And the reason Upschool exists is to close both the gender gap and the diversity gap, the talent gap in technology sector. So we have programs for female students who can attend to our programs and start their tech career and learn many subjects, technology subjects in our programs. And we are very happy. The reason we are here today with Victor is that now we have a joint program with European Leadership University, which we will talk more in detail in a minute. But before, I will let Victor, you introduce yourself.
Sure, thank you. So I'm Victor Lucas. I live in Cambridge right now, but I'm French by background. So I'm a software engineer in a startup that is building DNA at a massive scale. And on the side, I'm helping ELU build a program to help people get into the software engineering field. So yeah, I want to talk more about the program, but yeah, that's me for now, I guess.
Great, thank you. So maybe one thing we can start with is making a career change is not easy. Right. So I myself made a big career change. So I used to work as a marketeer in multinational FMCG companies, and now I'm working in education technology, in education sector in technology. So we know that it's not easy, but we have a lot of graduates in Upschool who are coming from very different backgrounds. Some are from even social studies. and they joined upschool programs, and they worked hard, and they wanted really so much to work in technology. Now they're working as developers in high-tech companies, and they're walking on a path to technology leadership in their careers. So it can be done, and we believe that if you want, you can do it, but we are here to help with our new program. So our new program has two paths. You either choose a full stack developer path or a software engineering path. And this is a fantastic program that we partnered with European Leadership University because it gives opportunities for a European tech career. So we do not have any criteria. We are not asking for any degrees. It doesn't matter which background you're coming from. The only criteria we have that this program is open only for women. And maybe I can start with explaining a little why it's only for women. I'm sure everybody already aware is the gender the gender balance doesn't exist in the technology sector, in many sectors, but mainly in technology. And we know that technology is what will lead us to a better future. So we believe gender diversity is really important. So the numbers we have right now is only 30% of technology workforce is female, and even less in many high-tech companies, going even down to 10%. So this is why this program is, we dream to help future female role models in technology. And this is only criteria to apply to the program. And we will talk more about the program because it is unique in many perspectives, especially in the perspective that it is not only a boot camp that helps you learn, but it is also a partner for you in your career that we will help you to find internships. We will help you to find jobs in technology sector in European companies. So we will talk about that more. But now that we have you, Victor, because you have a great journey in the past that you learned yourself, you taught yourself being a software developer. So how can one become a software developer? What would be your recommendations for our audience?
Okay. So when I was young, I was like in high school and everything, and I really didn't like the way that people were teaching in high school and the traditional system in general, because I feel like it was slow, it was not for me and everything. So I did it was more like a desperation move, but I quit high school before getting my diploma, and what I found was the school named 42. So it's a school based in France originally, but now it's everywhere in the world. And the 42 is a school that is very special because there is no teacher. You have to learn by yourself. You have to be very independent, but it allows you to go very fast, to learn a lot in a very short amount of time. And so in 2 years, basically, I learned as much as I did in like all the beginning of my life. And in only 2 years, I was able to land a very good job in the UK. So I moved out of France because I really wanted to learn English as well. So after 1 year, I found an internship. After 2 years, I found a job. So basically, most of my learning was made me in front of the computer, struggling so hard. I couldn't believe I was stuck for hours and hours, and I couldn't do anything. But because of the approach at 42, which is like project-based, peer-to-peer learning, and some other tricks and some other stuff that we are incorporating and improving inside of our program, in very short amount of time, without any diploma, I really succeeded to have a very good portfolio, but also and what's the most important is very good knowledge in development and in software, in all the skills that you need to be a good software engineer. So that's why I'm really happy to be able to help others achieve what I mean. I don't want to be cocky or anything, but to get there as well, because it's really empowering, and I don't want people to suffer in the traditional system when we can really do something better by ourselves, basically.
That's great. We are very lucky to have you in our faculty, Victor, because you've been through the same struggle. You know what our prospective students will face, what type of challenges they will face, and you will be there to help them. And actually, you mentioned a few of our discriminating powers in this program. This program is also project-based. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think 14 different projects by the end of the program, the students will have in their portfolio. So which is great to find internship, great to find jobs, to just show your portfolio, right?
Yeah. Today, people don't care about degrees anymore. People care about what you can do and how you can prove that you can do things. And a piece of paper doesn't give you that. It's good to have it. I'm not saying it's bad. But what's really important is what you can do in how much time, with which code quality. And these are all things that in ALU and Upschool we are trying to make you able to produce in a very high quality way. And we already have some students after 1 year, 1 year and a half who have like way like insane skills, like industry standard skills, or even beyond. I don't know if you were here when Pedro was talking today, but this guy is doing amazing. Like after 1 year, 1 year of coding is able to produce code that is totally out of this world in terms of quality. So we're really proud of the program and of the improvements that we are doing, because it's not finished. Obviously, we launched this program not so long ago, but it's already massive in terms of return what we're having. So really proud about it.
Great. That's great. I'm sure we will get a lot of inspiration and help from Pedro in this program as well. But also, as you said, it's a very hands-on approach to learning. But the other very important you mentioned is this is a community-based program. So you will never be alone. There will be a lot of peer-to-peer learning, and there will be our student success managers always helping you with different types of problems. And also there will be, of course, our valuable faculty members who are always there to help you with your questions, your problems. But with all that, having said that, it depends to you, right, Victor, to work hard to really want to do this. So what would be your recommendations for students who are thinking of applying to this program?
So indeed, it's a lot about you, and people have a hard time switching from the traditional system to our kind of program, because we are relying a lot on your capacity to work on your own and to achieve on your own. And first of all, I really want to address why this is key in becoming a great software engineer. Because let's imagine I'm going to feed you information and knowledge in loop for 2 years, right? I'm going to give you technologies that are not maybe relevant in the real space, because you're not learning the state of the art from the get-go, right? But for 2 years, you're going to be fed knowledge and learn how to do stuff that without doing it yourself, basically. And after that, you're going to be out there searching for a job. And when people are going to ask you, can you learn this techno quickly without someone explaining it to you? You're gonna be but you can't do it, right? So that's what we try to make you able to do, is learning how to learn, being quick at learning new technology, so you're never outdated, you'll never be behind. Now, how do we make that happen? What you're gonna have to do is really work with other people, because if you're alone you won't make it. It's impossible. So that's why we are trying to make a lot of interaction happen in between the students, even if it's not always the easiest with a distance, because it's a remote program, obviously. But that's our goal, is really for you to always have someone you can count on to work with remotely, which is super easy in 2022, right? So first advice is really to work with other people. So one advice, you need to accept being stuck. You need to accept being, you don't know what's happening. You don't know where you're going. You're just moving. You're just trying. 3 hours, you can't find the bug. You stay there 3 hours. And when you will find the bug, you will know it for life. While if someone is pointing you the bug, is saying, oh, but you forgot this then you will be like, oh yeah, indeed, you put the thing and then you never remember it, right? So that's my second advice is don't get discouraged if you get stuck. The third thing, I did a list somewhere. Third thing would be
Maybe
project
while you
based.
are, oh,
Sorry.
I thought let's continue with your recommendations, but maybe I can quickly mention because we got a question. Gernishkar is asking, how shall I enroll in the program? So let me quickly summarize that, and now we can continue with Victor's recommendations. So my friends already shared the link, I think, on the screen. You can either go to European Leadership University website or Upschool website and easily apply from website. And the application steps include first an online form, very short form, just to get to know you a little bit. And then we have an English test, because this is an all in English program and all remote program, as Victor mentioned. It will be all online. And obviously, if you can just show us a certificate or an exam result that you are fluent in English, you don't need to go through the test. And then we have an aptitude test. It is just to understand your interest in coding. You don't need to know coding to get into that test. And this is all. And then if you've gone through the steps successfully, then you can join our program. And we will talk about the different phases, modules of the program, but I'm curious about the other recommendations of Victor. Let's continue.
Yeah, I will go quick because I guess we have other things like the program itself. But my third advice would be do project-based things. Project-based allows you not to be working on something without, it gives you extra motivation because you have an ETA, you know where you're going. When you finish the project, you can show it off. So it's very important to not do random piece of code that are not really doing a lot of things on the big picture, but really work for the big picture, do something that is showable, that has a visible result. It's very motivating as well. So yeah.
Great. I think these are very valuable recommendations, Victor. Thank you for sharing. Even if you're not going to apply for our program, if I were you, I would really take notes and think harder on these recommendations. So what Victor also mentioned is very important, learning how to learn. This is one of the core skills that you are going to get from this program. So that one thing that I wanted to mention is this is not only a coding bootcamp. So you are going to gain a lot of skills and competencies aside from coding, including resilience, which is very important nowadays in the tech sector. And you will learn communicating successfully verbally and written in business language. And you will learn collaborating with your team members on working projects. You will learn creative problem solving, and we will also help you, as I mentioned, while you are searching for internships and jobs. You get a lot of trainings on interview skills, resume building skills, building your portfolio. So those type of skills and competencies will be also included in the program. And this program is actually a modular program, which is also reduces the risk for you to apply, because you can start with the prep part of the program and you can see if it is for you. If not, you can, after finishing the prep, you might decide not to continue.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
It is not for everybody, as Victor mentioned, but you can at least see if it is for you or not in our prep class, which is only 9 weeks. And then we have 3 different modules. So foundation module is 9 weeks as well. And progression module is 16 weeks. And then the second progression module is another 16 weeks. So overall, it is a 1-year program. But in the after the progression 1 program, there will be time for you to look for internships, because as Victor said, it's really important for you to get experience. So during the progression 2 module, we believe you can already be working as intern developers, intern coders, which will help you to learn faster. So if you go to the websites, you can find detailed information in what kind of subjects you will learn in each of the modules. but you can think of this program, a modular program of 1 year, which is a part-time program as well. So if you are working, don't worry, it is always after hours or over the weekend, so you can easily continue the program even if you are working a full-time job. And the other great thing about the program, which is very exciting to me, is European Leadership University is an accredited university in Europe. So once you finish the program, you will have more than 50 credits, European university credits. So if in case you decide to continue your education in a traditional university, you can get those credits in pocket, and you can shorten actually your path to a degree. So all in all, we are really excited to see our applicants. We are excited to see our new cohort. So if you have other questions, we can answer them now, or you can always write back to us. But before going to the questions, I will give the word to Victor. What kind of last words would you like to share?
Yeah, if you're not happy with what you're doing right now, if you don't like the traditional way of learning, apply now. You have nothing to lose. Even if you fail, you're gonna learn way more than what you're learning right now in your current thing. So try it and see how it goes.
Yeah, and you will also be part of a great community consisting of new learners like you, and helping each other. So as Victor said, there is nothing to lose. We are waiting for your applications and also your questions. So if anyone has any questions, we are happy to respond right now. Maybe I can. Yeah, we have Isadora here.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm just waiting to see if there are any questions, but if some anonymous person asks if I've attended a coding bootcamp before, can I skip prep class and foundation?
Great question. So I can give my answer, and I'm sure Victor can add as well. So there are many great boot camps, but it's very difficult to understand your level of knowledge. So it's important to have the base together. It's important to learn the base together so that we know the cohort is the same level of knowledge. So it would be very difficult, and unfortunately, I would have to say no. But Victor, what do you think?
So basically we have what's good with our way of teaching is we have a lot of flexibility on who is doing what. If you're very good and you're moving very fast doing all the projects, we have no problem with you unlocking the next steps and already move out to higher and higher. So if you're really good from the get-go, you will just spend a little bit of time doing the base, and it will take you maybe like few days, and then you will be able to go to the next step. So I don't see so much of a difficulty there. It can definitely be arranged for me.
Mm-hmm. And also maybe what we can suggest is don't think the prep class as just learning the coding. As I said, there will be a lot of trainings in terms of core skills as well. Even if you have a good amount of foundation in terms of coding, as Victor said, you can go fast in your projects without waiting for others. But you can attend to our core skill trainings, which will be very beneficial for you.
We have another question as well from Daniela G. Are there any scholarships for the bootcamp?
Well, currently we are not providing scholarships, but I know there are different opportunities that you can apply for. And if you're interested in the program, but the only thing keeping you from applying is the financial issues, I would suggest that you apply and you shoot us an email, and we will let you know if we find out any scholarships for you.
Okay. I think these are the questions that we have for now.
Great.
Thank you so much for talking. It was great. Always a pleasure having you both here.
Thank you,
And
Isadora, for inviting us.
thank
Yes, thank
you.
you. All right, bye.
Bye. So it was a great talk from them. Really good learning about the program. And I'm happy to introduce our next speaker. Her name is Sandrika Shetty. She works at OfferZen as a talent advisor. OfferZen is partnering up with YaleU to make this summit possible. And she's going to tell us about how to land a tech and job in a post pandemic world. So, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much for the intro, Isadora.
Are
Happy to be here again.
Yes.
Let me just share my screen, then we can get started. Is that clear? Can everybody see that? Is that okay, Isadora? Is it coming out clear? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. I just saw your message now. Fantastic. Okay, great. As I said, I'm really excited to be here again to share some key insights on what our current tech hiring scene looks like as we transition from pandemic to post-pandemic world. But before we dive into today's presentation, I'm keen to introduce myself. I have completed my honors in psychology, and I'm really passionate about empowering individuals. At OfferZen, I am a tech talent advisor where I work with a range of tech talent, from graduates who are entering the marketplace for the first time to senior developers with 15 years worth of development experience behind their name. I empower tech talent through advising, coaching, and supporting them through their job search journey. Now you must be wondering, what is OfferZen all about? So OfferZen is a tech marketplace that has flipped the traditional recruitment model on its head. It is a platform that connects candidates like you with great companies that are wanting to hire. From the candidate experience point, the process starts off with you creating a profile that best describes who you are and what you're looking for. So you use this opportunity to indicate the kinds of roles you're looking for, as well as what is the experience and knowledge that you have gained through personal upskilling, work experience, and studies. We also make sure that your expected salary is visible on your profile so that both you and the company are on the same page from the beginning, to avoid that awkward and difficult conversation that generally only happens at the end of a hiring process. Once you are happy with your profile and you are ready to get started, we make your profile visible to companies. If a company likes what they see in your profile, they reach out to you in the form of an interview request with an upfront salary amount. You then decide who you want to interview with. On OfferZen, we have over 1,000 different companies, varying in industry, size, and culture, and company size. So all you have to do is decide who you want to interview with. All we ask is that you communicate thoroughly throughout the process. The joy here is that companies come to you. So it takes away that uncertainty of, is this company interested in me or not? Because they reached out to you from the onset. Now that we have a better idea of how OfferZen works, I'm keen to jump into the session's agenda. So firstly, we'll be looking at how COVID has made an impact on the tech hiring scene, specifically looking at how hiring managers' mentalities have now shifted. I will then be sharing some tips how to navigate this new process, and then I will also share some practical job searching tips. So first things first, COVID has happened, and how has the tech recruitment space changed? The market is oversaturated. Things are more competitive than it has ever been before. You are now competing against candidates of all areas across Europe. There's a surplus amount of applicants for open positions. So candidates that have got laid off and that are actively looking for that new opportunity, and then candidates that are passively looking for that perfect fit. There's more demand for specific roles. So, cybersecurity roles, cloud based roles, and data science based roles are more in demand to assist companies that have recently gone remote. There's an increase in dev demand for remote culture and flexible working hours. And there's now more diversity entering the workforce. So people who had child or home care obligations are able to enter the workforce because they're being accommodated for. There's also a lot of pressure on companies to make the right hire due to financial constraints. So they will not hire you if they're unsure about you because they cannot afford the cost of a bad hire. Now that we have a better idea of what the market looks like, let's see how hiring managers' mentalities have now shifted. And you may be asking yourself, why is it important for us to understand what hiring managers are thinking? It is important because you need to understand the frame of mind of the person who is looking at your application so that you can then adapt your approach to your job search. With the market being oversaturated, hiring managers are looking at those loads of applications. There's also pressure for them to make that right hire because funding is so tight right now. Teams are fragile as many companies have only recently gone remote. So there's often a sense that this person needs to firstly fit in perfectly in the team and then be successful from the moment they start, because this is too expensive for this hire to not work out. This then leads to hiring managers having high decision fatigue and having risk aversion to taking chances on candidates. What that then means for candidates themselves is that they need to show that they are the perfect fit and they need to make sure that they are standing out in the process. So, how do you stand out? There are three things that hiring managers are looking for, but they also are expecting a bit more because things are so competitive right now. One of the first things is showing up and doing your research. You cannot expect to step into an interview process without any prior knowledge of the company's vision, their product, their mission, and expect to proceed throughout the process. Take the time to find out a bit more about that company. Do your research because culture fit is becoming an increasingly important part of a hiring process these days. That said, of course, technical ability is essential in this industry. But what's important is taking the time, effort, and attention to the technical phase of a hiring process. So don't try and squeeze in an assessment just before a meeting or in between your lunch break. Give it the time and effort it requires. And lastly, show that you're passionate about the role and the company. This will be easier if you consistently demonstrate throughout the hiring process how much you are interested in the position and how you would be a great addition to the team. With COVID-19, a lot has changed. It's changed the way we work, the way we onboard people, and the way we hire people. If we look specifically at some of the changes that COVID has brought, and it's one of its main changes is the remote world that we have now entered. Firstly, hiring managers and companies now have access to a global talent pool. So, as I mentioned, you're competing with people not only within your city, but across the continent and also across the world. Remote interviews are taking place. So, you either being interviewed via telephone or video call. And lastly, remote onboarding is happening. When starting a new job, you're having little to no in person contact. So, here are some remote keys to success. It may sound super simple, but it's one of the most important aspects of remote interviewing is having a strong internet connection. The last thing you want is trying to convince a hiring manager how you'd be a great fit for a team, for the role or for the team, when when you have to constantly repeat yourself because the line keeps getting cut, or you have to ask the hiring manager, to repeat the question because it sounds like an alien is tapping into your phone. Strong internet connection is essential. Over prepare. In the interview, preparation will allow you to firstly be clear about what you have achieved and how you'd be a great fit for that role, but also allow you the opportunity to ask more targeted and impressive questions, which will show a hiring manager that you have done your homework and that you are, in fact, interested in this opportunity. And then communication is arguably the most important element when it comes to remote interviewing. It is what will help you convert opportunities into jobs and will also help you demonstrate how excited you are about a role, the kind of work ethic that you have, as well as whether you'd be a good culture fit for that company. So, in this remote world, it's really difficult to show your energy and excitement about an opportunity. So, you've got to do the small things, such as sending thank you messages after an interview. If you haven't heard back from a company after a few days, to follow up for feedback. And if the ball is in your court, let's say an assessment, you have to complete an assessment. Being in communication with that company around when you expect to submit it, if you need more time, if you are going to make the deadline. These small tips will help you optimize for success. So I've shared with you how we can, navigate the hiring manager's mindset, some remote interview etiquette. Now I'm going to share with you some practical tips for job searching. Number 1, think long term. One of my best tools of advice when starting off your career is create a career map for yourself. Think about where do you want to end up? What is your final destination? And then what are the career moves you've got to take throughout your career to get to that destination? As you would go on any journey, you need to know what is the route that you're going to be taking. So take the time to map out your career. And that's what's going to make things a lot easier when it comes to choosing your first position, your first role, because quality experience is essential as you start off your career. Does this opportunity offer you career growth? Does this opportunity have a mentorship program involved? Those are the kinds of questions that are important to start thinking about when entering the workforce. Number 2 is value exposure to your work environment. The people you work with is super important to your mental health. So take the time throughout the hiring process to ask the company questions regarding what are their values about their staff, work-life balance, how do they deal with conflict? Ask to speak to current and former employees so that you have a good idea of what the culture is like. So if you do get to that offer stage, you have an idea of what you are going to be stepping into. Do your due diligence and research regarding what this company culture is all about to make sure that the company is in fact a good match for you. And number 3, be patient. The job search journey is truly a roller coaster, but lean on the support of family and friends. And if you're an offers in, use your talent advisor for support. It can feel lonely at times, but it's important to note that that timing is everything. It may happen quickly and it may take some time. Just be patient and trust that it will happen. In conclusion, good enough is not good enough anymore. Hiring managers are expecting a lot more in their applications. Take on these tips to show how you are interested in the role and how you are interested in the company and how you would be a good culture fit for that company. I hope that this presentation has been super insightful for you in landing your next tech job in this pandemic and post-pandemic world. In true Offers In fashion, I would like to end off by giving away some swag. All you have to do is fill out this form that you can either get via this QR code or popping this link into your search bar and filling it out there. Thank you so much. I think there is some time for questions, Isadora.
Yes, there are some times for questions. We're just waiting for them to come in.
No
Yes,
problem.
I had a question. If how does it work if someone is hiring from another country to work remote?
In terms of Offers In.
No, in terms of other companies, like, is it possible to work remote from other countries?
I think so, yes. It's definitely a thing that has become in demand. It's just about what the company's expectation is. Like there are certain South African companies, for example, that will only hire South Africans, whereas there are companies internationally, for example, that we have on our platform that are open, that are based in the UK, but are looking for someone in South Africa to work. So it is really a company by company case. There is definitely demand, but it's just about finding that company that offers that opportunity.
Okay. And does Offers In accept anyone to like apply and make their profile, I guess, on the website?
Yeah, so how the whole process works is that you can create a profile, and then we have our team that review it and to see, do you have the requirements for the particular roles that you are looking for? Is there a demand for the roles you're looking for? Obviously, they will communicate, what is missing or what the demand is, and if all those boxes are ticked, you definitely are accepted, and then you are given assigned a talent advisor that will guide you through the process.
Okay, so you have to apply as well to Offers In before, right?
So it starts off with creating a profile. And
Okay.
then once your profile is, yes, 100% you in, then the whole process starts off with the job search.
Okay, perfect. We're just waiting for a few questions. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
Sure, no problem. If I don't get to anybody's question today, I wanted to say that you can find me on LinkedIn. This is my QR code, and then we can connect there and also chat after today's session.
Okay. We'll just wait 5 minutes until.
Sure, no problem.
Oh, it's 9 minutes until the end of the talk, maybe. Okay.
Isadora, is there any questions? Okay, so hello, my name is Amy. It keeps changing my profile to Daniela. Can you apply from the USA? So unfortunately, our marketplace does not allow for candidates in in the USA. It's only for South Africans and Europeans and also the African, so the whole of the African continent at the moment, and the European market we've also expanded to there, but nothing in the state. We are not accepting candidates from the States yet. Not, and also, so one of the questions is, do you accept candidates from Asia? Unfortunately, not either. So it's just Europe and Africa at the moment. I will share the swag code. So those that didn't get a chance. So the Office swag is our merchandise. So it varies from t-shirts to cool mugs, hoodies, etc. I'm not sure what is in store with this swag, but that's what I mean by swag. How is the software onboarding like now on Office for Nigeria developers or engineers? Months ago, software developers from Nigeria couldn't apply on the platform. So actually, recently, I think it's the past 2 weeks that we've now opened up our platform to candidates in Nigeria. So feel free to apply. And then depending on the roles that you're looking for, whether there is a demand for it, you will be accepted through, as well as through some other requirements that our team will look through on your profile, but definitely apply and we can take it from there. But they will be in communication with you.
Hi, thank you, Sandrika, for your time and your tips. They were very useful, and also for the swag. I think everyone is very excited for that. And also to explain how Offers works a little bit. I'm sure everyone learned a lot.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. We are going to have a 5-minute break until our next speaker, which is at 5:35 CT. So have your bathroom break, but hang on, we'll be right back. Apparently, my mic was off. So, hope everyone had a good break. We still have some speakers left. Our next speaker is Nadzalama Mabasa, who's currently working as a SAP Commerce Marketing Cloud functional analyst, back end and front end developer, who develops and assists in developing software at Accenture. He will tell us how to develop your career as a software engineering and make better decisions based on his experiences in the job market. So, welcome. Hi, you can start already. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Isadora.
Good evening.
Can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear
we
me?
can. Yes.
Isadora? All right, thank you. Thank you. Greetings, everyone. My name is Nzala Mamawasa. Currently, I'm a web development recruit at Umuzi and also freelance web developer. So, what we will be talking about tonight, my talk is about career development and decision making or mentorship. So you might be asking yourself, why did I choose to call my talk career development and decision making instead of mentorship? After having gone through a mentorship program myself, I've realized that actually mentorship is about decision making and also career development, which we'll get into as we progress with our talk. So what I will cover in this talk, first we'll talk about what mentorship is and of course what is not. Then we'll look at why should you get a mentor, and then things you should consider before going through a mentorship or getting a mentor as an aspiring software engineer. Then we'll look at types of mentoring. Then we'll also look at the things that you can do in order for you to get the most out of your mentorship relationship. And then we'll conclude and take any questions that will arise from our talk here. So first, let's talk about what mentorship is. So we'll start about what is not mentorship, which most people might be confusing it with coaching. Mentorship is not coaching. It's not like you have someone who tells you what to do or what not to do. And also it's not teaching. It's not like you have someone who teaches you how to do things in most occasions. But mentorship, according to my own definition, which I believe is my own, mentorship is actually it's a process whereby an experienced person helps, advises, and guide or give guidance to another person who is less experienced on a topic or in industry. It can be also can work on education, can be on business, but on our focus here, it will be guidance on how you can make good decisions that will help you develop your career. So also the way in which I see mentorship, or I think about mentorship, I think of it as a GPS navigation, whereby, as I've said, that the mentor does not tell you what to do, but they help you. So the navigation, GPS navigation helps you find your path from where you are to get where you want to be, and also advises on the quickest path to get there. But it doesn't tell you where to stop, when not to stop, or if you can change the path or what. So you can be able to change the path even on mentorship. Then your mentor should be there for you to guide you through that journey until you get where you want to be, even if you are to change the path that you are using. So why should you get a mentor? Or maybe to give a little bit of background on my story before I get a mentor. During my time as a student and after graduating, I thought to myself, why should I get a mentor? it's not like there is no first person who did this, what I want to do. There is definitely that person who have gone through what I want to do. So who was their mentor if they were the first person? So it means they did not have a mentor. So it means, why should I get a mentor myself? Those kind of thinking. So like, but then I came to realize as I was growing, as I was exploring more on my industry to see, I came to see that actually having a mentor doesn't mean that you cannot be able to do what you want to be. Doesn't mean that you cannot be able to reach or to achieve your goal. You can be able to achieve your goal, but then how should it be? To have someone who is there to hold your hand, who's there to show you not to do this, or maybe give you that guidance to say, if you are to go through that path, this and that will happen. But if you are to use this path, then you'll get where you want to be faster or easy, easy, if I can put it in that way. Then getting a mentor, as I've said before, it's not about that you cannot be able to do something. You can be able to do it, but the mentor should be a source of help, advice, and guidance, so that you are also able to not to fall on the pitfalls that they've fallen before you. So to get someone who have walked the path that you are walking will be a good thing, because they will help you avoid some of the mistakes that they might have made before, so that you reach your goal at a fast pace, or also have so much information that you'll be good at what you want to do. Then before getting a mentor or getting into mentorship, what you should consider, or what should you look at, you must first have a goal of what you want to achieve through mentorship. I remember when I get through the mentorship of Project Thrive, which is by Offers, and like I had this huge goal of saying I want to be a good full stack developer. I want to have my own my own software company. So, but then the program is only 12 weeks long. So you can also imagine that it will be highly impossible for you to reach or to achieve all those goals in that short space of time. But then at least my mentor was there to help me scale down on my goals, so that I start with upskilling until I get to that full stack web developer that I so want to be. So it's very, very much important to have a goal, even if you are not so sure of what your goal is, but at least have an idea of where you want to be, so your mentor can be able to help you break down that goal if it's a very long-term goal, so that they can help you break it down to short-term goals, so that you can be able to achieve them. And while you have those goals and broken them down into short-term goals, you must also have something that you will use as goal measuring. What do I mean by this? When you have a goal, there is something that you should say that not just because I've done this, or not just because I've achieved this, it means my goal, I'm on the right path to achieve my goal, or I've already reached my goal. So I have something to measure your goal, to say, all right, this, if I can be able to reach here, then it will show that I'm on the right path. If I'm able to reach here, then I will have achieved my goal. Then also, you must also consider obstacles, because in this life, nothing is certain for sure. So have that mind and plan for such, because when I get into mentorship myself, I did not have the plan of what if I am to face obstacles, which was quite challenging, because on the third week of my mentorship journey, I lost my job. Received an email saying we're shutting down because of COVID. So it was very, very difficult situation to deal with, because I was so comfortable knowing that I have source of income, then I can be able to have a mentor who will be able to help me upskill and be a good developer that I so wanted to be. But then I took my time, even though I did not plan for such. I remember me and my mentor discussing the issues around that matter to say, should we change the goal that we had? Because my goal was to upskill as a web developer, especially on JavaScript programming language. So it was quite difficult to say, okay, are we switching the goal now to helping you look for a job, or helping you find website where you can apply for a job while I help you with preparing for interviews. But then I went for upskilling myself, as I said at the beginning that I'm currently at Umuzi. I'm currently a web development recruit there, whereby I'm pursuing my goal of being a full stack web developer, where I've enrolled on a full stack web development path through the bootcamp that they offer. So, not saying that you should not divert from your goal should such situations arise, because some cannot afford to lose source of income, whereas they are focusing on something else. So just make sure that you think about those situations and plan for them. So when it comes to types of mentoring, first, there is one-on-one mentoring, which is what I went through with Project Thrive, whereby your mentor assists you in reaching your goal or achieving your goal. Then number two, there is group mentoring, though I'm not sure about this, but I know that there is one mentor who mentors a group of people. So my points will mostly focus on one-on-one mentoring, just because that's what I went through. But I really believe that those points should also work for group mentoring, whereby there is one mentor and group of people working towards achieving the same goal, because there is no way that you can have one mentor mentoring a law student, a software engineering student. So that's what it is. Then there is peer mentoring. Peer mentoring is what I can say I'm still going through right now at UMOS, because we get an opportunity to review each other's code as peers, so helping each other, writing clear code. If you have completed a project, then another person haven't yet completed their project, then you get that opportunity to help them. So that's what's happening now where I am. So then there is reverse mentoring. On reverse mentoring is whereby a junior or a less experienced person mentors a senior, his or her senior. So since you know that our industry is a lot of things are changing in a very fast pace, so you might find that there is technology that you know as a junior that your senior doesn't know. So that's where reverse mentoring comes in, where you help them understand what's happening with that technology. So from these four, which I believe that there might be a lot out there, but according to my research, this is what I found. And you should try and look around to see which group can you fall into, what resources do you have, because sometimes it's not about you not being able to get one-on-one mentoring, but sometimes the situations only allows for group mentoring, peer mentoring, or other cases. So what can you do to get the most out of a mentorship? I think what is most important is first having a clear goal. Because when you are going through mentoring, there is something that you are working towards. So have that clear goal to say, this is what I want to achieve, so that your relationship is more focused. It's not like tomorrow you come and change and say, now I want to be a data scientist, let's change the goal. Now I want to be a web developer. So have a clear goal of what you want to achieve through your mentorship. And then through your sessions with your mentor, have clear agendas of what you want to discuss with your mentor. It's not that it's only a mentor. We should always come with agendas to say, just because you said your goal is this, then this is what I want you to do. Have agendas of your own also, and talk to your mentor about them, and discuss them. Because once you are in a mentorship, as I've said from our introduction, that mentorship is about guidance. They will guide you on maybe where you can get resources. But if you want to do something about those resources, you should do your research and come back with something that you know. Then you discuss it with your mentor than them telling you what to do or not, what not to do. Then through those agendas as well, have open communication with your mentor. It's very, very much important to have open communications with your mentor. Talk about things that you are finding difficult and things that are also working for you, so that you know what to focus on. And also the situations that you are facing, as I've said, that there can be obstacles. I can imagine on my case, if I had that obstacle of losing my job, then not talking to my mentor about such situation, because I did have the mind of saying, no, just because I've lost my job, it seems like things are not working well for me. Maybe I'll just have to quit and do and enroll in postgraduate certificate in education and just go be a teacher and give up on this software engineering path. But then by talking to them, showing them my situation, what I was facing by that time, they were able to help me come up with a good solution, which up to date I do not regret, because where I am right now is because of that decision that we took, that decision that I took to continue with upskilling, which was my mentorship goal. Then from open communication, make sure that you have honest feedback with your mentor. Yes, you also have to give feedback on your mentor on what's working and what's not working, and they also have to give you feedback on how you are progressing. So this was the first thing that I did with my mentor, to say, to agree that we will have honest feedback no matter what. I remember when I shared my CV with them, which was so formatted, like it was still early 2000s, so like they gave me that honest feedback, and I reflected on it, looked at what they said, and then managed to change my CV to be modern styled. So have that honest feedback with your mentor. But when you are receiving that honest feedback, make sure that you reflect on the feedback as it is, and not think that maybe they are attacking you, they do not want you to progress, because it's possible that they give you that honest feedback that's not good. Then you be like, no, it seems like they do not want you to progress. Make sure you reflect on the feedback, and should something be not clear on the feedback that they've given you, reach out to them, ask them for clarity, so that you take steps that are necessary to act on that feedback, so you change what needs to be changed. I guess through those 4 steps, if you are able to do that with your mentor, having clear goals, setting clear agendas, having open communication, and giving each other honest feedback, then you will definitely get the most out of a mentorship relationship. Then, as a conclusion, from what we have discussed, or what I was talking about, do you think you really need a mentor by looking at where you are right now, not considering what another person wants you to do, but where you are as an individual right now? Do you think you need a mentor? Do you know someone who could be your mentor, or any program which you can go through and find a mentor? Do you think you can actually benefit from mentorship, or what? So through I'm leaving you with this conclusion of those 3 challenges, to go and ask yourself those questions: that do you need a mentor, by looking at where you are, and also, should you answer yes, of course, that's when the next question comes in, to say who can be your mentor, or which program can you go through and find a mentor. And then if you think you can benefit, then that will help you set clear goals. So I would say, from my side, even though I'm leaving you with this conclusion of you asking yourself these questions, I really think mentors are very much important in order for you to make good decisions that will help you or that will enable you to develop your career and be where you want to be as a software or aspiring software engineer. So should you want to learn more on mentoring, there is a guide by Project Thrive on developermentoring.guide, which you can go there and read through it. And also their mentorship program is found on offazine.com/thrive. That's where you'll find the program that I went through, though I'm not sure on the restrictions that they have now. So, but you can go and look into that. Thank you so much. Should there be any question, I'll gladly take those and answer them on this remaining 5 minutes. And also, should I not be able to answer all the questions, we can continue the conversation on LinkedIn or Twitter, or you can reach me on my website from the details that you see on screen. Thank you so much.
Hello. There is a question from LinkedIn. It says, where are the best places to look when seeking a mentor? Hi.
I see the question. Where are the places to look when seeking a mentor? From my side, I can suggest Project Thrive. I did share the website there, whereby the support is really great according to me, because they do have some check-ins every now and then to see how well you are progressing towards achieving your goal. So Project Thrive, I remember last time they were saying they are taking everyone from all over of Africa. I'm not sure on other continents, but you can definitely check with them. I think that's where you can find a good mentor. If I can, okay, yeah.
I think this is the question that we have right now. If we have any more questions, please talk to him on LinkedIn and he will answer the rest of your questions. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. It was great hearing about mentorship. So next up is Christian Gill from Scarf. He's a senior software engineer at Scarf, and he has, which is a very interesting company, and he will give us a great talk on a day in the life of a software engineer, so you guys can understand a bit more how the day-to-day works. Welcome, Gil. Christian.
Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you. Can you hear me all well?
Yes, perfect.
All right, nice. Yeah. Yes, you can. Oh, there, you can see my screen now. All right. So the day in the life of a software engineer. I have to admit, when the organizers reached out to me to share about this, I had two thoughts. One was about those YouTube clickbait YouTube videos that share how the day in the life of a software engineer looks when they go, I don't know, in the Uber offices in San Francisco or something like that. And the other one is how I'm going to talk about this for 20 minutes, because in a nutshell, it's just, write some code, join some meetings, and that's it. But thinking about a bit all the things that happen during the day, there are some things I can share that will probably be very interesting for those that are either looking to join to become software engineers, or maybe you started learning already and are wondering if this is the right, if this was the right decision or not. So yeah, slides. So the day in the life of a software engineer, basically there are a lot of things going on, and I want to start first with giving you a perspective of how like my career has been so far, in how it looked like in those different places. I'm from Argentina. I live in the Netherlands now. I started my first professional, like full-time job was around 7 years ago. It was a small company that made mostly marketing websites for different other companies. I was a junior there. I had not much experience, so I was working on really small projects, and I was working alone mostly. So I will get the designs from a designer, and I will have to implement the UI for those websites. It was a very classic and traditional job, so I had to clocked in at 8:30 sharp. If I was there like 5 minutes later, my boss was like, why did you get here late? And there was nothing like happening at 8:30, but still had to be there. But still, it was a really nice experience, being my first job, having the opportunity to, with no basically professional experience, start coding. And then after that, I joined Altoros. It was a company working with international clients, also in the same city. It was more flexible. I was still studying, and they gave me the ability to basically go to class and then work a bit later, and so on. And after that, with my wife, we were already married. We decided to move to Europe, and I found a job with a company, Housing Anywhere, that offered relocation. It was a startup. They had their own product. It wasn't not working with clients anymore. And we took this chance, and we moved here to the Netherlands. It was very young startup. Everybody was, most of the people working were students, so a lot of fun, a lot of social activities. I was still going to the office, and because of that, we had to move here in the Netherlands to a different city, and I had to find a new job because it was location based. Then I joined Katawiki right before the pandemic. So we all went remote and had to switch the way we were working. And after a while of looking to switch from JavaScript, which is what I did in most of these companies, I found a job at Scarf, which is where I work now, with also Haskell. So I do a bit of the website, but also the servers, the backend, with this language. So the first takeaway from this like recap of where I come from and what I've done so far is that you will find a lot of amazing opportunities working in software. And yeah, I think that's great. You can take chances like move to another country or work remotely, and yeah, be ready to take those opportunities. And you'll find maybe the opportunity to work, for example, on a project that really resonates with you. Scarf is a company doing analytics for open source projects. The idea is that we want to make open source more sustainable, so that really resonated with me, and was also my goal to work with Haskell, the programming language. So yeah, that's why I took that opportunity. But if we go specifically to the day, right? One small disclaimer first. This is just my experience. It will be really different for different people. And there are a lot of things in common that will look similar, but you might work in an industry that things are really different. I don't know. Let's say you work on security for the government, and then things will look different. Your day will be different, but in general, software engineering has a lot in common. And yeah, so my day usually starts around 10 in the morning. I work with my team is distributed. I work from home and have colleagues here in Europe, but also colleagues in Brazil and the US. So I don't start that early because I want to also align with the colleagues that will start later in the day when it's the morning in Brazil or the US, right? So in the morning, I review the work that my colleagues did when I was off already. It's a very common practice to review the code that your colleagues did. and to make sure that everything is working, and your colleagues will review your code as well. So that's one of the first thing I do in the morning. I also join with Slack calls or Discord, this kind of more social kind of calls with my colleagues, and we work together on some problem. So basically we do pair programming, or I would maybe work along if I have a task that is assigned to me only. And that's basically the morning. It's mainly coding and alone or together with my colleagues. So that's the other takeaway. Even if you are working remotely, even you are not going to the office with your colleagues, there will be a lot of opportunities to socialize and to develop relationship with your colleagues. You don't need to become friends and do things outside of work, but still it's nice that you can develop a relationship, and when things are a bit harder or you find challenges, you can work through them together. And I mentioned before the flexibility that this job has. When it's time for lunch, my wife also works from home. She's also a developer, so we think on going for lunch together. Maybe we do a walk with our dog. I had to put the picture of her because it's super cute. So that's also something I really like, having the flexibility to organize your day around like how you want to do it. And this, maybe if you work on site and go to the office, it won't be as flexible, but you still can find some flexibility. And I think this is great in all the tech industry, that you can adapt the day to your liking. So usually around maybe 12 or 1 we go for lunch. And I also enjoy the fact that I can have lunch with my partner, and I can spend some time with her during the working day as well. After that, after lunch, the colleagues from the Americas start joining, and we sync with them on whatever project we are working on. That can happen through Slack, or maybe having a quick call as well. We sync with them, maybe do a bit more coding together, or after getting some of the feedback of the work I did in the morning, I tidy things up a bit more. And so the takeaway here, I think, it's communication. It's very important. Although it might seem like software engineering is just coding, but there is a great deal of communication involved. You will work with the team, you will work with people in different domains, designers, managers, and you will have to communicate with them. So it's important that you develop good communication skills, and you learn to explain yourself, especially now with all being remote, or a lot of our industry being remote. This also adds an extra challenge to that. And as I mentioned, now that I work with colleagues in different parts of the world, my day looks a bit different. The meetings, this is my calendar. I don't have many meetings. That's also something I like, because previous jobs I had much more meetings across the day. We have this what we call stand-up that usually happens every day around 5:30. It's the beginning of the day for them, but 5:30 p.m. But it's the end of the day for us here in Europe, and that's where we sync with the team. We basically synchronize on what we were working. If there were some challenges, we mentioned that to our manager. We explain what happened, and we plan for the next day, or for the day that the other colleagues are starting. Some other meetings involve, company updates, that how the company is going. So Scarf is a small startup getting started. So we want to know basically what's happened every week, what's new. we on Mondays, you can see here there is an engineering meeting. We have this meeting to plan the week ahead. We might have some other meetings that are one of like this one, for example. Here it's a check on a problem we had in our production servers, and we want to discuss and make sure that this doesn't happen again. Yeah, so this is basically the more like the formalities of the work. You will have different types of meetings depending on how structured or more informal your team is. You might have some other types of meetings where you plan the work for, let's say, the next month or the next 2 weeks. And after that cycle, you will review what went wrong and what went right and try again. That's called agile methodologies. I'm sure you hear about it. So yeah, those are basically the meetings of the day. There are all of these formalities, and sometimes they might be a bit boring, or you might just be there listening to what some other people in some other department has to say, and you might not be so that interested, but that's part of the work. I think it's still nice to know, like, maybe you are in a bigger company and to know what's going on other areas of the job. So and that's basically more or less like my day at work. So I do coding, and I also collaborate with my teammates. In some other days, I may have an interview for a person that is joining our company, or do something like that. Back when I worked for consultancy companies, I would have meetings with the clients as well to present the progress that we were doing in the project, and get some feedback from them, and maybe new features that they will request or something like that. So depending on the type of job you do, you will have these different kind of meetings and formalities. In big companies, you might also have some social events. So in Katawiki, the previous company, there were around 800 people, not only in software, but customer support and different areas. And there were some interesting social events to do if you like to join those. So that's a bit about the day of a software engineer at work. But my day usually doesn't end there when it comes to software itself. I do like to keep learning, and I write code on my own as well. So I usually, at the end of the day, do some coding on a side project, maybe for fun, or to learn some new tool, new language, new database, new framework that show up. So today, earlier, I remember someone mentioned about the learning mindset, and I think this is really important. You will go through college, or you will go through basically your classes, and that's not it. You will have to keep always learning. There will be new things, and that's also what keep the work interesting. So yeah, that's basically in a nutshell all the day. I want to do a quick recap. I think the main takeaway from me is that you will have amazing opportunities. As I mentioned, you might move to another country, or you might travel or something like that, or you might join a very cool project it's all about solving problems. I think I missed mentioning this, but basically software engineering is about solving problems. So that's what you're going to be doing, and that's also what keeps it fun, because when you solve those problems, however big or small they are, it becomes really, really rewarding. People are as important as writing code. You will work with the team, you will work with colleagues from other domains as well, and it's important that you keep that in mind, that you're not just the computer and you, but also your team, and that you're part of that, and that also keeps the work interesting. communication is key if people is involved, right? And what else? The work in general it's very flexible, so just make it work for you. You might not be an early person. You might want to start working after lunch, or you might want to work very early and then have the afternoon free. You can always find a job that will be flexible and accommodate for that. There's boring stuff as well. You will have meetings, you will have things you don't like to do, but yeah, I think that's the smaller part of the job. And to always keep learning. There will always be new things to discover, new languages, new frameworks, and the field stays interesting. And yeah, I think I went super fast, but that's it. I probably missed a lot of things, so if you have any questions or if you're curious about something, just you can let me know. That's my Twitter handle. I can reply there, or you can ask now. Which company am I working for? I work for Scarf. I think let me see the next one here. Currently I work for Scarf. Maybe I can quickly show you our website. It's a company that provides analytics for open source developers, and the idea is that we want to make open source more sustainable.
Thank you so much, Christian, coming to talk to us. It was great. I think you have a good day-to-day life. So thank you very much.
A pleasure.
Bye. Okay, so last but not least is André Luiz Araújo Santos. He's a software engineer and front-end architect consultant. And he will come and talk to us about how to flip the interview in your job search. So welcome, André.
Hi, hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Start sharing my screen. Can you see the presentation? Hope so. Okay. So, thanks for having me again. It's a pleasure to be at the European Leadership University and to have the opportunity to share about the flipped interview. It's an approach that I've used a couple of times before, and it was really nice, and it really helped me to get better jobs, and I hope it can help you as well. Okay, before I start, a little bit about myself. I am a software engineer working for a company called Passionate People, based in the Netherlands. And before that, before I became a software engineer, I was also an environmental engineer for 3 years back in Brazil. And currently, I work and live in the Netherlands, close to Amsterdam, in a city called Utrecht. And as some hobbies, I really like writing, like watch movies, like basic stuff. But I also like to work with people, collaborate, learn from each other. Cool. Okay. So about flipping the interview. So before I start, a little bit of context. So this whole thing all started when I was looking for a new job. When I did look for a new job, a few times. In the IT market, we are very fortunate that we can. There's a lot of opportunities out there. So demand is really high. So there's a lot of jobs, and opportunities. But there's not a lot of developers available to work on those projects. So that gives us this very nice, opportunity to be able to basically pick our job, which is great, is awesome. I'm very grateful for that. So when I was looking for a job, usually I would start with, basically, I'd go out there, go for hiring process, do some interviews, and then eventually I would find a job. And then as I found a job, everything was new. So, new challenges, new people to work with, new tech stack, new company. And now, so I got into that honeymoon phase where everything was nice because everything was new. But, at some point, things end, that honeymoon phase, that 5-6 months, I have to join a job. And things get into a sort of a routine. I was not as bored as this guy in the picture, but I was not that excited anymore. And, then what I did, I went back to look for a job again. And because there's plenty of jobs, plenty of opportunities, just go out there. And then I repeated the cycle, I think 2 or 3 times, something like that. And that was, there was kind of a problem because, yes, I'm doing sort of the cycle and getting to that kind of thing. And I believe there's a problem. And that's like the question, right, that I brought to myself. Like, what is the problem? If there is a problem, which I believe there is, now how can I break out of that cycle or improve somehow this situation? And if I try to answer this question, I get some insights. So I think kind of the answer probably lies around, being the driver's seat of my career. So being in charge of how I want to grow, what I want to do, how I want to develop myself. I also believe that, if I also, go into that, trying to answer this question, it's all about time. Time is precious. And if we waste, time, if I waste time going through the cycles, yeah, it does look like I'm using time wisely. Can I get it back? And last but not least, I think aligning values, what I believe in, and also my goals. It would be nice to align them with the job. And it can be hard because, yeah, I know jobs, my values, my personal life, and then my goals in the job, it can be tricky to align. But if you can get there, I think it's really nice. And that's what I wanted to do sort of. Cool. So getting a little bit into that problem, I think my focus was a bit too narrow if I try to, when I remember my, at least my approach. So I always look into salary, tech stack and status. Salary because, well, we work to get paid, and if we earn more, that's nice. And then tech stack, and as developers, there's a lot of different tools out there. So there's always that new tool, that new thing. And then, so there's a big selling point, plays a role for me in a status. So if I'm coming from, sort of, let's say, front-end engineer in a company, going to another company, where I will be a senior front-end engineer or something like that, that's also nice, the fancier title. So we can get caught into that. Cool. These are all important, these things, right? I think they are definitely have their value and make them really important, but are they enough to make a good decision? And I do think so, because this was the approach that I used a couple times, and I ended up in that cycle somehow. So that was not nice. And I believe there's more to it. It's definitely important that these things, these sort of tangible things, but there should be more to it. And which brings to the question now that I ask myself. So what is important, or even as important as, let's say, something tangible as the financial compensation of the job? And again, trying to answer this question, I think it's somewhere around motivation, being motivated, energized to be there, to work in that company, in that project, with that team. Also the values, things that I believe in, the way they should work, culture and whatnot, that sort of thing. I think that's also important. And also growth, it's nice that you get into a job, get salary and APO stuff. But I think it's also very important to have that healthy amount of challenges that we face day to day. So that we grow, so that we learn. It's also nice. So yeah, so that's what I came up with, sort of this list of things that are very important. They are kind of intangibles because it's hard to quantify, but they are important. So for instance, roles and responsibilities, a product that I believe in, and work with good people. When I mean good people, is more like people that I have some match with. That's really important. So for instance, responsibilities such as, not only doing their work, but doing, let's say, work on the planning, or mentoring some juniors, or maybe work closely with the designers, things like that. So things that go beyond the developer role precisely. A product that I believe in, so if I am a pro environment, like an activist of some sort, and if I work in a product that is some way related to the environment, climate change, that sort of thing, that's also quite nice. And also working people that have some match that I can, that feel confident to be open to talk about things. I think that's quite cool. So this is sort of kind of how my day-to-day work would look like if I can get insights into those intangibles. But there was more. So for instance, hybrid workplace, remote work, office work, especially during the pandemic and even after the pandemic, that's also important. So I like hybrid workplace, so that's quite an important thing for me. And maybe tangible, intangible, yeah, we could discuss that. But loyal company culture. So do I have a say in that company? Can I be heard if I want to say something about the product or how we work, or maybe point out some problem? And then a healthy work environment is an environment where we can learn from mistakes. That has that is it open, that kind of just enjoyable workplace. That's sort of in the company culture scope that I'm gonna put. And then finally, the tangible, but they're more personal. So for instance, opportunities to grow and learn. Now again, I think it's very important when you get to a job, especially developer, so that you can grow and learn. So that's really important for me. It is also tangible in a way. And this and work-life balance. So am I going to this job, and then after I leave the job, so after my work day, do I have enough energy to spend time with my family, friends, or personal stuff? So again, another intangible that is quite important. So I think these things can also be very valuable. That go beyond the salary, the financial part of an offer, let's say. Cool. Then, but with that list, which is a bit more like a general, the question is now, how can I find that out? How can I find information that allows me to assess all of those things? How could I do that? And if I try to answer this question, I think the answer goes around, how to approach an interview. The interview is, in any hiring process, wherever you apply, wherever I apply or I will apply, I don't know, I'll always go to an interview and talk to people. And I spend 1 hour, 2 or 3 hours, and that's how I approach the interview. But also how I clarify the expectations to myself, but also to others as well. For me to let know, hey, to the employee, hey, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to grow. And also to myself, of what I'm expecting from that hiring process, from that company, from that role. And then finally, it's also important to find what is really key for me to go to the company. What are the things that bring the most value? So what is definitely important. And cool. So if we proceed, I think that the focus is probably on the interview. In the traditional way of the interview, usually is, I prepared for what, the interviewer was going to ask. So I got the job posting, I got some information, and then I looked at the company, the product, the size. That's what you prepare for what they would ask, so that, I can show that, hey, I'm good enough for this role. However, if I want to get all the information about those intangibles and kind of have, let's say, more information to make a better decision, I believe that I also have to prepare for this, but also prepare for what I want to know from them. So you kind of have to, think in a different approach, where instead of being one-way street, where it's much more, from company to candidate, it's like a two-way street. There is some sort of ping pong going around. It's more like a chat. You have also to evaluate the company in some way. And I did this process, and I was kind of trying to do this with this new approach. I noticed that the information that I got usually in the traditional way, it's just like some bullet lists in the job posting, and then the offer, and a little bit of what I hear from the interview. And in this new approach, I get much more information about that, but also how the things work. What is the culture of the company? How the people collaborate together, and then much more. And then finally, I always felt like the company was much more in control of my hiring process, and that was nice, because if I also want to be in the driver's seat, career, I think that this control has to be, kind of more balanced. That the power has to balance between you, or between me in that case, and the company. So this new approach sort of makes the thing a little bit more like two-way street, and that's what I call flip the interview, where instead of going from employer to candidate, the process goes from candidate to employer. So if you think about the traditional way, it's more about the employer that wants to know about you. So the employer was like interrogating me with questions, wanting to know if I'm good enough for them. But also if I want to get all the information, all those intangibles, and I also have to interview the employer. So so that's why I call it as like flip the interview. You flip also the flow of information, so to speak. All right, cool. But if we can get more practical, I think the question now is, how can I do it? How can I flip it? I think that, the answer also goes around, definitely the mindset. So in an interview, instead of being just there to, show that I have all the skills required to get the job, it's also about the other way around. I also want to know, hey, is this company good enough for me? Are they going to help me elevate to the level that I want to be, that I want to grow? So mindset is really important. And, also some can be very simple, but it's quite valuable is when you list all the questions. So when I list all the questions, and I was looking from question to question, I could notice, hey, this question is not really good. I could phrase it better, but I also could see, hey, is this really important? Do I really believe that? So it made me think much more about what I wanted to ask and how I wanted to ask that. And if that thing that I wanted to ask, if it was really that important. Also, if I think about all this traditional way, usually, if in a 1 hour interview, they give what, like 10 minutes, 5 minutes for me to ask questions. I think it's usually like that. So that is not enough, right? It's just too little time. So it's always nice to have kind of enough time with the interviewer. So when in my interviews, I always try to ask, hey, can I have a 40-minute phone call with you? Because I have all of these questions. And most often than not, this was quite possible. So, not something hard to require to ask. And finally, I think it's all about also prioritizing the most important questions. So even though I can ask for more time, I can get the extra 40, 50 minutes. Maybe it's not enough, or maybe maybe I have even less time than that. So it's important to prioritize the most important questions, but also by prioritizing, I know what's more important for me, and that's also helps me also to assess at the end of the whole process. Hey, fish up, the way to go. Cool. All right. So to give a few examples, on the day-to-day work like intangibles, if you recall, one of the questions that I really enjoyed asking is like, how's the agile workflow of the team? That question gives me some insights to, hey, how does the team work? How do they collaborate? How do they sort of work together? How do they plan the work, look at the roadmap, the sort of stuff? So it's nice to get some insights in how they work. And another question that I like to ask, really like this one, is, let's say I start tomorrow and I'm fully onboarded. What would I be doing for your team? It's also a good question because, usually in the interviews, companies give me more like a general overview of what I'll be doing. But if I ask this question, they have to tell me precisely what I'll be doing, the actual work, what I'll be developing. So that gives me much more information, and it gets, I can see, let's say it's more tangible to assess, this work. Okay, going to the company, to the personal scope. One of the questions that I like to ask is, if I wanted to change careers within the company, for example, from front end to back end, how would you help me with that? Not a good question because it gives me, solid information. Okay, how does this company would help me, what I want to grow, what I want to learn? Usually they give also kind of general information, but if you ask a question like this one, yeah, I think most often than not, they will tell you, because they told me, more, let's say, accurate information, something how they would help. And another question on that sphere is, do you expect me to work overtime during weekends? A simple question because it's kind of a yes or no, but it also gives us insight into, is the work like really it's a lot of pressure in this project? Do you expect for the features of this project that I would be developing to be deployed as soon as possible to production? How is the, let's say, workflow of this team? Technical wise, we have a lot of bugs. Things break a lot that they have to fix, during weekends or after work hours. So this also gives me a good insight into how is it, even not only pressure of the work, but also the quality of the whole process of the development process. And then finally, on the company culture scope, are there any days when I need to go to the office? Yeah, I think remote work is quite something these days. It's really important. So I like the hybrid setup where I work a few days in the office and a few days at home, so I can get the best of both. So yeah, good question. And then finally, are there social events or those? This is kind of a good question for me because I come from Brazil, so I do know a lot of people here, and most of my social contacts, let's say, is with people at work. So if I could have events with them to kind of talk about other things, non work related, even make some friends, I think that's very nice, very valuable. So yeah. Final thoughts. So with this whole process, with this kind of a different approach, flip the interview, what I noticed is that with better information, I could make better decisions, and I believe I did. Then I know people say, or let's say scientists say that in those experiments, with the quality of your output, of the outcome of that experiment is based on the quality of the data, the input. So with better information, in that case of this kind of in the interview process, I can make better decisions. I'm much more equipped to decide better my future. And I also made the whole process much more nice. So I was much more engaged to those interviews. And interviews can be very tiresome. You speak for 2, 3, 4 hours with different people, and you also have to prepare before it. So it's mentally, let's say tiresome. You have to put energy on it. So if you flip the interview, at least the way they flipped, I found it was much more. I found much more enjoyment in talking to these companies because I also want to assess them. So it also made me a little bit more relaxed in this whole process. And as a plus benefit, employees like it. I've received good feedback after I changed my way of going to interviews. And this is not. I don't think flipping interview should be a goal to impress employers. No, I think this is sort of it would backfire for sure. At least that's what I believe. So, but it is a side benefit nonetheless. We always like to see people to see ourselves, in charge of our careers. In the control of where we want to go. So yeah, I think everyone likes that. So yeah. So this whole thing that I presented was about my experience, and I think that you can use to your benefit as well. You can tailor everything to your needs, of course. I think the most important thing is the mindset, is the approach about interviewing the employer, not only being interviewed, but interviewing as well. And this whole presentation, finally, is based on this article that I wrote to Office Ed, and you can check out there. This is the URL. I hope it's easy to find. And there are much more questions there that could be very useful to you, and also more detailed information about the whole process. Yeah, and if that's my segue to say thank you. Thank you a lot again for hearing me, for being there to the end. And I put some links about LinkedIn, so if you want to find me, ask me some other questions about this process or other stuff. And there's the article again, the link. And yeah, that's it. Thank you. Okay, do I have questions?
Thank you, Andrea. I'm from Brazil as well, so hi.
Nice. Hello.
We don't see any questions right now. But if there are any other questions, I'll also ask people to send it to you on LinkedIn or
Sounds good.
also write on our page. Okay.
Awesome. That's great. Hey,
Thank
thanks a
you
lot.
so much. Thank you. It was a very nice
Bye-bye.
talk. Bye.
You.
That's it for our summits today. Thank you, everyone who came, participated, and also shared their insights. This is the end of our virtual summit. I had a great time personally. I hope everyone enjoyed it as well and learned as much as I did from every single speaker. Everyone brought different thoughts and perspectives to the table, so it was very nice. And I'd also like to thank all of the speakers today, the tech support and the marketing support, Ibrahim and Sebnem, Yale's founder Alper, and Anthea Raffersen, who helped us organizing the event, and everyone who came and watched the summit and asked questions and was here. So if you want to know more about the organizers, you can give us a follow on LinkedIn as well. And if you have any questions as well, send a message on LinkedIn and we'll be there replying. So thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.